know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
What's up, posers, and welcome to Punk Lotto Pod. I am your co-host, Justin Hensley.
I'm your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
And normally, this is the show where we choose one year at random and select one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk-adjacent album from that year to discuss, except for today, where we are choosing one year not at random and 20 albums not at random to discuss. That's right, we are doing our top albums of 2025. This is our yearly tradition where we go through our picks. Last year, we fine-tuned it, so it was actually more of a collaborative list, and we'll go into like how we determined stuff in a little bit. But we did that last year. We both, I think, really enjoyed how it came out, or thought it came out better than previous years, so we decided, hey, let's do it again going forward. So always be fine-tuning this show. If you head to patreon.com/punklautopod, that's where you get access to all of our weekly bonus audio. This week, there's not going to be a regular bonus audio, just because this is going to take us so long to record, and we don't really have time to do any other regular bonus audio together. But you can check out my top formats of 2025 bonus audio. I just put up, as of recording yesterday, was the top singles of 2025. By the time this comes out, you should also have the top splits of 2025, and the top EPs of 2025 should probably come later after this episode. So yeah, lots of content there. So $1, you get access to all of that stuff. So it's all there. Also, if you are on the $5 producer tier, that gets your name said on the show every single week. So shout out to Zach in Oregon. Shout out to Dave Brown, my co-host on Bookenders, as well as the writer of the newsletter Oklahoma Lefty, where Dave put together his top albums of 2025 list on his Substack. So check that out. Shout out to Steve Long, writer of the newsletter The Otter Limits, which I believe is where he posted his top albums of 2025 as well. But also you can listen to his podcast, Rebel Nerd Radio. And shout out to Jason W., writer of the newsletter Songs About Chocolate and Girls, who also did his top albums of 2025. Jason doesn't like lists, so it was kind of special to get him to put one together. So, but some good stuff on there. A lot of stuff on his list that I really, really enjoyed that won't necessarily make our list, but I liked as well. So for this year, well, we continue our collaborative list idea. And the only thing that we kind of were wondering is, like, what should we do for rankings? Last year, I really don't remember what we did to determine our rankings. I think we just, I don't know. I think we just slotted it random, almost random up until a point.
Yeah, I think we kind of just, like, argued about it. Not argued, but, you know, just, like, talked about it as, like, you know, loosely based on our own individual rankings, maybe. And that worked for the most part. Like, I don't think our ranking was, like, really weird.
Ranking is also fairly arbitrary too, you know, because if you're anything like I am, like, my ranking changes, you know, over time. So, like, just because it's number 5 today, and in 6 months I would have made it, I would have made that number 10. Like, that's not really that big of a difference. So,
yeah, I mean, anything under the top 3 is kind of arbitrary anyway. Like, I feel like even this year, I don't think that my rankings, I'll go ahead and lay out how I ranked my choices this year, because I guess we'll explain how we are ranking it this year. But, like, my rankings were basically like, oh yeah, I remember really enjoying this one. And I think I remember enjoying listening to this one the one time more than that one. So I just kind of, like, went up my list and was like, yeah, I would say I liked this one more. It's very loose, very feelings-based in the moment of making the list and trying to recall how I felt when I listened to the records. And, you know, I didn't necessarily go off of any scores that I gave records, because I think kind of, like, the first listen on most things I listen to is, like, you know, if I really like it, a 3.5. You know, there's only a few things that I gave, like, a 4-star rating on Rate Your Music this year on first listen. And those are the things that probably made the very top of my list. But so my number one, going back through and listening to stuff that's on our list this year, I'm like, that might not necessarily have been my number one even. So it changes. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I I tend to listen to a lot of music throughout the year as far as like new releases. Like I specifically go out of my way to listen to as much as I possibly can. I also rate and rank things in a couple different ways. So I really do it that way is because it kind of helps me fine tune my final ranking. So what I'll do is it makes me look like a crazy person when you look at my actual full document, the way I'm tracking it. Because I have things like a list of things to listen to, a list of things I have listened to, just alphabetical, and those have ratings. And then I like rank within all the bands start with the letter A. And then I rank all the albums that came out in January. And then I rank by format. So it's like I'm ranking by like 3 different things. And if something is still like in the top of those, then I know by the end of the year it's going to be in the top of my main list by the end. So it's my brain. It's just wired a little different. That's the kind of thing where you're just like, oh, I'm not neurotypical at all. So that's fun to know. But yeah, so I my rankings are pretty solid. That is the whole point of bringing all that up, is so that my albums and EP lists, like those rankings are pretty solid because I have kind of like compared and contrasted several different things in several different ways. So yeah, with this, what we did was we each put together a list of everything that we wanted to potentially feature. Like my list was like of albums that I listened to this year was like not as many as years past, honestly. Because in years past, I've done like 300 albums, and that didn't happen this year. I cut bait on records a lot this year. I wouldn't like force myself to finish something if I wasn't enjoying it. I had 148 on my LP list this year, and then my EP list is 87. So combined, that's pretty close to 300 if it's not over. But and then all the other formats, of course. So what we did is we each made a list of like 30, and then we found all the ones we both listened to, and then we just found the median ranking of that. So, like, if I ranked it number 1, but you ranked it number 10, then we add it together, divided by 2, we get 5. That's the simplest way of doing it. So, that's what some of these rankings are. So, we're not going to really go too much into, like, this is my number 7, that anything like that. But if we hit, like, this is my number 1 or my number 2, then, we'll mention those out. But otherwise, we'll just keep the ranking. Doesn't really matter that much, especially for audio. We do have some honorable mentions though. So we have a few things that we both listened to that just didn't quite make the cut. We decided we're going to do a top 20 this year. I think we've done a top 20 most years, though I think last year we did 25, but in general we tend to do 20. So is there anything on the honorable mentions that you feel like we should shout out there?
Like the stuff that we cut off, basically.
Right.
Because you kind of extended out our median rankings up to like 27 or so. So
yeah,
I would personally say the Susie True record that came out this year would definitely be an honorable mention because that was in my top 20 of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that record. How I Learned to Love What's Gone, produced by Chris Farron. They definitely stepped up their production, and hopefully it's paying off for them. I mean, they get some good gigs and tours from time to time, so just they're continuing to grow, I think. But really enjoyed that record. I think that's definitely one to mention.
One that almost made our list was End It's Wrong Side of Heaven. This is their first studio LP. I think it's their first full-length album because everything else they'd done was an EP up to that or a single. And it was really fun. It was a really good little record. There's that song on there. They do a cover. I can't remember what the song, who it was by originally, but it was a pop punk song. And it kind of was Akil can do pop punk. That's kind of funny. I would like to kind of hear that. But
yeah, that record was not highly ranked for me. And
yeah,
I think ultimately why we bumped it off the list. But there are some really interesting things on there that I think they should maybe do instead. Yeah, I think they could do just a clean singing alt metal record and it'd actually be good.
Yeah, because Akil can actually sing,
there's some stuff on there that's pretty close to that. And
yeah,
I think they're just, they're in that scene and doing what they're doing. And, I think they're good at it. It's not necessarily a sound that I'm super into, but yeah. And the main reason we bumped that one, that was really on our top 20 by median ranking.
Yeah.
And the main reason we bumped that one was because number 21, I was definitely one of the stronger records of the year for me. And I felt like I felt like we would both be more enthusiastic talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
As a proper ranking. So like, and it's like a band that every time they put out a record, they make our our end of year lists. So why mess with tradition? There's going to be a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah, I was putting this list together and I was like, are we too predictable? Jason W. in the Discord made a pretty funny thread a couple months ago where he was making up our rankings, our top 10s of the year, and he nailed us. He got us good. Like, mine was just some version of the word super and chunk for like 10 different entries, and I think Dylan's was like, oh, a random jazz record, or like here's a Bruce Springsteen B-side collection.
Bruce Springsteen covering up the sound of his bathroom farts.
Yeah, so we're a little predictable.
I mean, I wasn't gonna put the like 7 album unreleased Springsteen box set of demos on our list.
Yeah. Anything else on the honorable mentions you feel like pointing out?
Of the records that almost made it, that Gum Parker record was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Breaks. I thought that was an interesting record. I probably would have enjoyed it. Well, this is true of everything. My entire ranking, everything that was on my list, everything that I listened to this year, my ranking would be so different if I had spent more time with anything. And I feel like that Gum Parker one could have actually made the top 20 if I'd like really spent more time with it. Similarly, that Zephyr record, Past Lives, I think it's very much in my lane, and I think the biggest like strike against it was that it was from like January or something. Like it was really early in the year.
Yeah, it was one of like the first things that I really latched onto this year, and we were even going to do a version of our producer audio where we used to do just like a live chat. We were going to do one on that record, then we kept like bumping it, and then before we were just like, the live chat's like fun, but it's too hard to get everybody scheduled, so we just started doing the extra play version instead. So, but yeah, we would have done that Zephyr. That was a fun record. I did listen to that one quite a bit early in the year, but then as the year goes on, the stuff you heard in January isn't getting as much play in June, So. And I'll just say, as far as like stuff that we both had on our lists that we haven't mentioned yet, that Neil Sharma and the Sagebrush record was really good. That one was called Dissipate the Heat. Really fun record. One of the strongest like albums that they put out. I think Neil's made our best of list in the past, so he would be another one that like we have done. And you named 2, so I guess I'll throw in Liquid Mike. Put out
Hell is an Airport.
Hell is an Airport. I was trying to, for some reason on that list, I didn't put the name of the albums, but yeah, Hell is an Airport, which I thought was a really fun record, but I definitely preferred Paul Bunyan's Slingshot better than Hell is an Airport. But is there anything on your list that wasn't on my list that you want to shout out?
My keyboardist put out a record this year that he did with his partner. They played all the instruments. He played like drums, guitar, all kinds of stuff on there. Their little side project band is called Mood Lighting, and they put out a record called Gutter Rabbit. I think it's really good. Kind of lo-fi-ish, poppy, punky, shoegaze, dream pop kind of thing. I think they do a good job of mixing a lot of like the dream pop and shoegaze, and honestly, the record leaned more shoegaze than I expected when I listened to it. But I thought that was a really fun record, and I'll throw out Fur Traders' The Tender Life. Kind of a bedroom pop record. It's all self-produced. He does all his stuff himself. We played a show I actually played 2 shows with Fur Trader this year. We played full band when we played with Perennial, and I was really, really impressed with what he's doing. And then I played solo with him a little later this year, and just wanted to shout that one out there.
Yeah, on my list, the only things that we didn't have on both of our lists that I really wanted to shout out is the new Coheed and Cambria, The Father of Make Believe. I loved this record in a way that I haven't loved a Coheed record in a few years. And funnily enough, it seems like a lot of other people are really ranking this one high on their lists too. I've heard it mentioned on a few different lists now on some other podcasts. I think this record actually got the attention of people who maybe weren't as enthused with the last few Coheed albums. So I think this one's like a weird, like, oh, that was kind of like a late hit that the people who've been following along really dug. So that was in my top 10. That was like a number 6 for me personally. I listened to that record a lot this year.
I never got around to that one. I know I should listen to it because based on what you're saying and what I've seen other people talk about it too, like it probably is one of the few Coheed records in recent years that I would want to listen to, but I just never got around to it.
Yeah. I mean, Coheed puts out a lot of stuff, and if you haven't been following along the whole time, it is a little harder to, just dip in for a later record. So, yeah. I get it. It's part of their Vaxxus. I mean, it's their big old stories trilogy thing they're doing with this one. But at least they didn't name this one like that trilogy. So that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, this one actually looks like more standalone. Because when they put all those like colons in their album titles and numbers, I think it turns people off.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Vaxxus 3 Appendix Section 4.
Yeah, and I think that throws people. So when you just call it a name of an album, I think people are more willing to give it a shot. That might be the trick to a Coheed record, but and the only other really big one, Motion City Soundtrack put out a new record this year, The Same Old Wasted Wonderful World, and it's a lot of fun. Justin Pierre, he doesn't quite sound the same. His voice is a little lower and a little more huskier, but I guess that comes a little bit with age and just like you can't sing that high forever. It's eventually going to start, though. Coheed, he still sounds the same. I don't understand it, but but yeah, the new Motion City Soundtrack was really good. It was like their first album since reuniting, so it was really, really fun. And yeah, the only other thing I'll mention is Negative Blast, Destroy Myself for Fun. That is the like hardcore supergroup. It's members of Ludax, Hour the Wolf, and it has Mario Rubalcaba on drums from Hot Snakes. Yeah, that's where he came in to that family tree. But yeah, so. And then, like, I have way more stuff, but maybe I'll publish that list on the Patreon, just as a straight list, so you can just see it. I'm not going to write entries for it. That's what this is for. These are our written entries, essentially. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it then. Let's start with number 20, and it is Red Eyes by Moving Targets. Stats, released July 25th on Dead Broke Records. Moving Targets from Boston, Massachusetts. And this is the band's 8th studio album and follows 2023's In the Dust. It was recorded by Jay Robbins. And yeah, Moving Targets, burst back on the scene 25 years after their final record, Take This Ride, in 1993. And then ever since they're returning, they've been releasing new music. Wires came out in 2019. That was the first LP. And they really haven't slowed down since then. It's been a pretty consistent, every other year we usually get a Moving Targets record now. They tour a lot too. They've made this an active band again, instead of just like a one-off studio type thing.
Yeah, I think at this point more active than they were in their initial run.
They tied it.
Pretty much as many records in a shorter period of time.
Red Eyes is the 4th comeback album, and they did 4 studio LPs on the first run. They've also done like some other things. There was like that split they did since reuniting, which was a fairly substantial, like it was an LP split. So there's a decent amount to that one. But yeah, they've mashed it at least. But yeah, it's an active band. It's a real band. It is one of those bands though too, where like only one of the original members is here. Kenny Chambers, he's the singer and guitarist. He's the only original Moving Targets guy in the band. The two other guys round out the rhythm section. They joined when they reunited, but they've been in the band the whole time since they reunited. So it's been those two in the rhythm section. I always wonder about those kind of reunions. I assume the other guys just weren't interested. Or
yeah, and the Moving Targets like history as a band was never a really consistent lineup. There were definitely some rotating members over the years.
Yeah, I do think there was like one other kind of recurring band member who, like, he was on like most of the studio records the first time around. Who was it? Maybe it was, maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, what thoughts on this new album? How'd you feel about it?
It's great. I think that like their records tend to have this overarching kind of feeling to them. I think a lot of that is like partially due to like they always use like they do a lot of instrumental tracks on records, and they're like good instrumentals. Like they're almost like this is a song and we just didn't have words for it, you know, like, and it gives all of their records just a really thematic feeling. And listening to this record, like, you know, I had maybe had it ranked lower than previous records by them in previous years, at least like the reunion records. But like coming back to it for this episode, I was like, man, this really is so strong. Like there's so many songs on here that like when they started, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this from the last time I listened to this record. Like I remember listening to this record when it came out and being like, wow, that's an amazing song. And they've just always been able to do that. Like I feel like Kenny as a writer is so impressive and so undersung because he can write a song that is as catchy as like a Hey Jealousy. You know, like you're just like, damn, that's a perfect song. You just hear it and you're like, that's incredible. How do you write that? And he does it on every record.
Yeah. You know, this was a record that I kind of had ranked lower after my initial listen to it. And I don't know if I was just in like a bad mood or not in the right headspace to listen to it, but I initially didn't have this ranked very high. And I was disappointed with it. This was one that I was like, oh, not as into this one as the last couple they've done. And it wasn't until coming back to it and like re-listening to it that I was like, oh no, I must not have been in the right mood that day, because like revisiting it, I was like, this is a really fun record. And it is like the exact kind of thing that speaks to me. Like listening to all the records that we had picked for this list, and I was like, there's a very common like sonic element to a lot of these records that is just kind of my thing. Like I love mid-paced, kind of gruff, melodic, it's hooky, but it's kind of melancholic. Like it's not the most like upbeat, fast-paced thing. I don't have a ton of fast stuff I listen to. When I do, it's usually hardcore stuff. I'm older and slower, and I like my music to be a little slower these days. Like the idea of just being like, I'm going to go to a hardcore show. Like I went to one this year, but like it was a little atypical. It's not their standard kind of hardcore show. But if I went to just like a regular like beat down hardcore, doing a bunch of spin kicks and flips and stuff, I would be very tired and not want to be there for long. So not a ton of hardcore in my day-to-day life. I do listen to a decent amount of it, but yeah, but this is just like right in that vein of the kind of thing I listen to. Sonically, Moving Targets always kind of lived in the middle ground between Husker Du and Mission to Burma. I think that's like the two bands that they cite specifically were an influence on them. And in 2025, those two, maybe the Mission to Burma is not as strong, but you still hear it. I definitely hear those two sounds mixing well here.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the reunion records too, there's a little more of that later, like early 90s, like towards the end of the initial run of Moving Targets, where they're leaning more into like the Husker Du alt rock thing and like a little bit of a Gin Blossoms but listening to this record too, like I hear a little bit of like the Dinosaur Jr. kind of thing that a lot of bands were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Of just those like woolly riffs and like catchy tunes. And Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we can move on to our next entry then. So, number 19, we have Animal Hospital by Ganser. Released August 29th on Felt Records, Ganser from Chicago, Illinois, and this is their third studio album, and follows up their 2022 EP, Nothing You Do Matters, and this was produced by Liars member Andrew Angus, as well as the band. I believe he's worked on a few records by them. So yeah, they put out the EP in 2022, Nothing You Do Matters, and they went through a little bit of a shakeup. So their lead singer, Nadia Garofalo, and their guitarist Charlie Landsman both stepped back from the band. Nadia left entirely. This leaves behind Alicia Gaines on bass and Brian Cundiff on drums. And so they bring in new vocalist Sophie Sputnik. And this is the first time Ganser have released something as a three-piece. And the three-piece consists of Alicia, Brian, and Sophie. But that being said, Charlie Landsman does appear on this record alongside another musician named Dove Hollis. I don't know if this is a case of Charlie was still in the band when they went into the studio and then quit the band, or if this is just, hey, I want to quit the band, but I'll help out with the record. I don't know who the permanent guitarist of the band is, because as of right now, they don't have one. They have a bassist, a drummer, and a singer. Sophie just does vocals. So I don't know who their guitarist is going to be. They have someone who plays with them live. I'm assuming it's fill-ins based on who's available when they do shows. So I think they teased some news recently on social media. So my suspicion is they're about to announce who's their guitarist. So I'm not sure who does what guitar-wise on this record, but it could just be very much one of those, like, everybody played a little bit of everything on this record. But your thoughts on Animal Hospital?
This record is really interesting in the way that it does a lot of different things and still sounds uniquely like one band, consistently like one band. And I think that this is really a further exploration of that kind of patchwork quality. Ganser has always been a band, I think, that is quick to cite references. And they will tell you what is inspiring them and kind of lay out sort of the blueprint for it. And the records, when you listen to them, some of those things I think you can pick up on. And then other things you go like, oh, wow, that's not what I expected it to sound like based on, what they were citing as a reference. So the records are fun to listen to. And I think this one is more so pulling from a lot of different places, and I think that it is unusual and maybe even somewhat difficult of a record, especially when you get into like how the sequencing, it's like there's these huge swings from track to track, and I think it pays off. I can understand it being maybe somewhat of a frustrating listen in that regard, but for me it was like, what's going to happen next? It was kind of each twist and turn of the track listing. So I thought it worked well.
It's funny. You describe it as something that you never know what's going to go, and like it twists and turns. But also at the same time, I feel like this might be their most accessible record. With the last LP they did, they were a little bit more experimental and like a little bit more like exploratory in their songwriting. And this record feels like they're going for a specific kind of like post-punk. Like post-punk is like the number one thing I get when I listen to this record. There's some elements too in here of other stuff. There's some noisy stuff. There's some shoegazy elements as well, just with the way the guitar pedals and everything kind of works on this album. But like post-punk is it's very, very close to that sound. It is a very bass-driven album as well, which makes sense. You know, the remaining members of the band were the rhythm section, so it kind of makes sense for them to be this more like groove-based version of the band they had before. I am very curious to see what they do after this, you know, without Charlie's involvement, just to see like if their sound changes even further. But I like the addition of Sophie on vocals. I don't know. My gut instinct is to say I might like Sophie's vocals better than our previous vocalist, but I'd need to do some actual like kind of like hard side by side. But just gut feeling, I like Sophie's vocals a little bit more. There seems to be a little bit more of a punkiness to this record.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying about the previous Ganser record being maybe more exploratory. I think this one is a little more confident in what it reaches for. But I don't know that I would say this is like the most accessible thing on record. I mean, maybe it's the most accessible thing they've done, but there's plenty of like, you know, grinding, droning, swell maps and ugly killing joke kind of post-punk stuff happening on here. I mean, there's cool, like, you know, pretty stuff, like stuff that sounds like the softer My Bloody Valentine songs, or kind of that middle period or early pre-ambient Brian Eno stuff, but not the very, you know, earliest Brian Eno solo stuff. I think a lot happens very quickly on this record. There's a lot of big changes just in the first handful of songs.
Does it feel like a different band to you? Or does it feel like a logical continuation?
I think it feels like a logical continuation. I think that Sophie does a good job of taking over for Nadia.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just from seeing them live, because they played mostly old stuff when I saw them.
Right.
And I think Sophie can take over, like, can do those songs, and it works. And so it feels like a natural progression, even though there's membership changes.
Yeah, I didn't see them live, but it doesn't feel like a different band, even though it kind of is. You know, I mean, Charlie's still here, so I guess that helps kind of maintain some sonic continuity there, but it does not feel like a drastic departure. It just, it feels like the next thing they're going to do. But yeah, like I said, I want to hear what they do going forward, if they shift their sound even more so, depending on, I guess, who's playing guitar. But yeah, it's a solid little record, and it might be like the only thing kind of like this on our list. At least this explicitly like post-punk.
It's no UK post-punk.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah, the Chicago noise rock landscape does kind of feature in this sound as well, too. So, yeah, they're not British by any means. But speaking of British, let's talk about number 18, and it is In Love Again by Ex Void. Released January 17th on Tapet Records. Ex Void are from London, England, and this is their second studio album. It follows their 2022 record, Bigger Than Before. And this album was recorded by Rachel Kennedy and Sam Ayres. And X-Void were a power pop band made up of Lan McArdle and Owen Williams, formerly of Joanna Gruesome. And earlier this year, it was announced that X-Void would be calling it quits in October. And so they played their final show then. They were a band for 7 years. I never really saw a reason for them breaking up. I did see some people kind of speculating that Lan just does not like performing in front of crowds. I think that there's like an stage anxiety kind of thing going on there that maybe is the reason why X-Void is done now. I also just wouldn't be surprised if it was the fact that Owen Williams is also in a band called the Tubbs, and the Tubbs have actually taken off and become the bigger band of the two post-Joanna Gruesome bands. Owen's in both bands. Lan also does backing vocals for the Tubbs too, so essentially the Tubbs is also just more Joanna Gruesome. But Owen is the main lead singer of that record. That was on our list of like almost made it. This was an honorable mention. Was the Tubbs record, but yeah, I always liked X-Void better than the Tubbs. So I'm a little disappointed that X-Void is the one that is wrapping things up. But Lan also has some solo music too. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a case of like we don't need two bands going at the same time doing the same genre of music, because it is very much the UK power pop, jangle pop sort of thing. The Teenage Fan Club, the Birds, all the same reference points that you tend to get with a lot of bands in this vein. They're all kind of pulling from the same source as well. But what I always liked about X-Void is just the harmonies between Lan and Owen. They dual sang most of the songs, and there's a lot of that on this list too. A lot of dual singers on here. But what are your thoughts on this record? I think you came to it kind of late in the year, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I came to this one pretty late. I don't think I listened to it in the month that it came out. It was certainly on my list and on my radar to check out and listen to. I hadn't really gotten into X-Void as much as the Tubbs. I did listen to that Tubbs record when it came out, and honestly was kind of disappointed in it. It was one of my lower ranked records this year, and I think that X-Void should not have stopped. The Tubbs should be the one that had stopped if we had to choose which of our two children to sacrifice. I think the X-Void records are more consistent than the Tubbs records. And I'm very late to come to X-Void, because I hadn't really listened to any... I didn't listen to the record before it until this year. And I really liked that first Tubbs record when it came out. But since then, like having listened to the X-Void stuff, I do think they're the stronger band. Maybe it's just stronger writing.
Well, Lan kind of takes lead in X-Void more than Owen does. Like, he sings on the record and harmonizes with her, but I think even the mixing, Lan is higher in the mix, so I think it's kind of viewed more as she's the lead singer. They, I believe, non-binary, are the lead singer, and Lan's just a better singer than Owen is. Owen's got a funny voice. He sings like this. Like, it's got a very like low kind of voice that feels very British. He's got a very British voice. That's kind of how I would describe it.
You know how the geese guy sings?
Yeah.
It's like that, but good.
Yeah. That Geese record, that's like the number one, like, across the board album of the year. Like,
Not
everybody
on my list.
No, it's bad. And I did find some like-minded people who were just like, what the fuck? Why is this record so popular? So it is kind of funny to see. It's like, huh? They're a New York indie rock band. That's why they're number one. The press loves a New York indie rock band.
Close enough. Welcome back, The Strokes.
Yep, that's what it is. This is everything on our list is better than that Geese record. Yeah, I'm disappointed X-Void are calling it quits. I did think they were the better of the two. I've yet to still listen to Joanna Gruesome, though. That is that's the funny thing. No one can get me to go back and listen to them.
Here we are ranking the ex Joanna Gruesome bands, and neither one of us has listened to Joanna Gruesome.
That being said, they only had like 2 records too, so it's kind of just they just don't stick around for long. I mean, that band I think just ran longer, but they didn't put out a ton of stuff. Maybe in January be when I do it.
2 bands with 2 of the same people in both bands.
Also, the Tubbs have like more Joanna Gruesome people. There's like 2 more Joanna Gruesome people in the Tubbs too. So it's like, huh? That's interesting. It seems like
They wanted to change the band name.
they wanted to leave one band member out. Because there is one Joanna Gruesome member who's not in any of these records.
But fuck that guy.
So it has to be of like, band starts practicing with new
With new bass
bassist.
player.
And just be like, no, we're a new band. It's a new band. It's not the same. It's like, but you sound exactly the same. But yeah, maybe in the dregs of January where I don't have much to listen to, I will be checking out some Joanna Gruesome. But let's move on to number 17, and it is "Here We Go Crazy" by Bob Mould. Released March 7th on Granary and BMG Music, Bob Mould is currently living in San Francisco. That man lives everywhere. He was in Berlin before that, but I think after COVID, he came back to the US and moved to San Francisco. This is his 15th solo studio album and follows 2020's Blue Hearts. This was produced by Bob Mould and engineered by Bo Sorensen, who has worked on the last several Bob Mould records. And the Bob Mould Band does continue to feature John Worster of Superchunk and Jason Narducci of also sometimes Superchunk, but also lots of other things. We'll talk more about the Superchunk family later. Both of them are still in the Mountain Goats, and they have their own projects that they work on. But yeah, it's a continuation of the Bob Mould Band. This is the longest gap we've had between Bob Mould solo records, if you exclude the years where Sugar was active, because that is the biggest window. Like, there's a couple, the first like 2 Bob Mould records, and then he starts Sugar for a few years, and then comes back to the solo stuff later. But 5 years between solo records is kind of a long time for Bob Mould. The pandemic's in there, so that could be part of what it is. Bob has also spent the last few years doing a lot of solo touring, where he's doing these solo electric shows. I went and saw one of them. It was fun, but I would prefer a full band again. But I don't know. That kind of seems to be the thing he's kind of into right now with these tours. So we'll see. We'll see how long it takes for we finally get a full band version of the Bob Mould.
Well, he got Sugar back together, so.
Well, I was going to say, too, now that Sugar is also back, we might be in another gap year for a couple years for Bob Mould solo records, too. But.
I mean, if there's the potential for a new Sugar record, I could sacrifice having another Bob solo record, because a Sugar record is just going to be like a Bob solo record anyway. It's just going to have the other guys.
Yeah. Which it was a 3-piece, right? Sugar was a 3-piece just like Husker Du was.
Yeah.
Except Husker Du had, one of the best co-songwriters you could possibly ever want, in your band.
I mean, yeah.
And so Sugar's going to feel like a Bob record anyway. So yeah, you're right. This record very much reminds me of not the last couple Bob solo records. It doesn't really remind me of Sunshine Rock or Blue Hearts, but it does make me think of, what was it, Patch the Sky? Was that the name of that record? The last in the trilogy of records that he had done.
Yeah. Here We Go Crazy, I felt like was not... Well, so this is a record that I initially had ranked pretty low. This is one of those really good examples of a record that if I had spent more time with it, it would have been ranked a lot higher, I think. And because for some reason, whatever reason, I don't know exactly why, but when I first listened to it, I was like, it's good. It's a Bob Mould record. It scratches the itch of what I think a Bob Mould record should be. like it didn't have the same impact to me the way that like Beauty and Ruin did, Patch the Sky, Sunshine Rock, all of those records, like when those were coming out. I will say, on first listen and since then, and on repeat listens, I think Here We Go Crazy is a lot better than Blue Hearts. And I revisited Blue Hearts this year as well, and I was like, it just doesn't, it falls flat for some reason. And weirdly, Blue Hearts is like one of the most well-regarded of the recent, like since 2012, since Silver Age, like it's like the second highest rated on Rate Your Music, which take that for, I don't know, whatever it is. But
yeah, that's a weird, I don't understand why that record was so highly rated on Rate Your Music when like Sunshine Rock came out not that long before, and I thought that record was so much better. Yeah, that was a weird one. Blue Hearts was a disappointment for me too. Maybe this is how you were with this record at the beginning, is how I stayed with Blue Hearts. Like maybe I needed to go back to it, but you just said you revisited it and it's still not as good. So.
I did. Yeah. And it's a fine record. Like it's not a bad record. But I listened to some other Bob Mould stuff this year. Like, cause like, some of the later 90s solo Bob Mould records had been off of streaming for a long time, and they finally came up, I think, this year. So I've listened to like his self-titled record from '96. I've listened to The Last Dog and Pony Show, and maybe it's just because of the having listened to those records this year. I do find a lot of similarities to them with Here We Go Crazy. I think there's some different approaches to rhythm and arranging on Here We Go Crazy than he has done for the last several records. And I think what really won me over on this record and what really impresses me about it is that he's kind of just trying to have fun on a record now instead of, just working through all of his issues.
Yeah.
I think this one's more fun than he's had in a long time.
And I wonder if that album cover is kind of a representation of that. It's him standing on like, I guess it's like a road or a cliff of some sort. I'm not exactly sure what he's standing on, but it's like, it's dark. It's like a dusk type photo, it looks like, or it's like maybe a night photo and it's just like city glow in the back. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but then it like has a strip torn out, which is where Bob is standing, and it's like sunny and like, it's still kind of setting sun, I guess, but definitely it looks like it's like there's some sunshine here, and like ripping through the the darkness is this sunshine, and that maybe that is what this is. And Sunshine Rock was like that too. That was like meant to be the record that was kind of like evoking his youth. Like that's what he was trying to go for with that album.
And a lot of people didn't really like Sunshine Rock. And again, I think
they're wrong
on that one.
Yeah, they're wrong on that one. Because if you look at his album covers, like everything, post Body of Song, the artwork is all like silvers and grays and dark blues and just like blacks. They all look bummed out. Like everything looks bummer. The trilogy makes sense because that was about his parents dying and him processing it. So that trilogy makes sense why it was so dark. But even like Life and Times and District Line have like that dark album art, and like District Line has like the big yellow and green circle, but Sunshine Rock is like was the record that stands out in the artwork of just being so different. Because then Blue Hearts is back to blue and black, and then even Here We Go Crazy is still like dark blues, and even though there is that strip of sunshine there, it's still visually in line with most of the Bob records. So it's kind of interesting because if you look at like his 90 records, they all have like a brown color to them, like the Workbook and Black Sheets of Rain and Hubcap. It's kind of funny that Bob goes through color themes, which I guess the Husker Du records all kind of have a colory. There's a lot of purple in those Husker Du album covers too. So I don't know. Bob just likes visual consistency, I guess. But
yeah.
I guess sonically, if you talk about it, it sounds like a Bob Mould record. It does sound like the same record he's been doing for the last 20 years. So you know what you're getting with a Bob Mould record now. So. All right, moving on to number 16. It is 1,000 Couple Times by Model Martel.
Names that I used to know, but I can't even pretend. I got no tears.
This was released September 3rd on Snappy Little Numbers. Model Martel are from Cleveland, Ohio, and this is their debut album. So their name comes from pro wrestler Rick the Model Martel. 3 of its 4 members of the band are huge wrestling fans. And if you look at the band's Instagram, it is full of cameos from the original Model Martel's tag team partner, Tito Santana. So yeah, wrestling band is really how I would describe Model Martel. In aesthetics, really, more than anything, because lyrically I don't really hear anything wrestling. It's not wrestling music, but yeah, just a fun little, like, we like wrestling, except for the one guy. They even said in one interview I read that, like, whenever there's like a big wrestling show happening, 3 of them will be like going off in their group chat, and then the other one just like mutes it because he's just not into wrestling. So it's funny. I wonder what that's like, being the one guy in a band not into the thing that everyone else is into, but. Their sound is very power poppy, punk rock. There's a tinge of post-hardcore. There's a tinge of emo there too. But it is just very upbeat, catchy punk rock with, some very, very, very strong hooks. And this band is out of nowhere. You know, I said earlier we're kind of predictable. You know, if an artist we like and have covered in the past puts out a new record, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be on the show when we do our best of list. And that's why I think it's also important to find new things to listen to. And so this is one that I found that was new to me. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is the only record they have too. So I'm kind of in on the ground floor with it too. But I listened to this and I was like, man, the vocals sound a lot like the Superweeks, Evan Bernard's vocals. Like very, very similar to the way he sings. And I take that as a positive. I really enjoyed Superweeks. So, and that band is like, I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. Kind of weird how that band exists and doesn't exist. But what are your thoughts on this Model Martel record?
I checked this one out a lot later in the year and didn't end up spending a lot of time with it. But it's a fun record, and they're doing something that is very nostalgic to us, I think. Definitely strikes me as being in that sort of fest punk kind of sound. A lot like, maybe like a little bit like a Signals Midwest, that sort of lane of bands, I think. And it's a lot of it was kind of the post Iron Sheik and Reviver, or like the stuff that was concurrent with those bands, sort of a post Latterman sound, and how much that was really influential on a lot of the punk bands that we were into, over 10 years ago, at this point. And a little bit emo, a little, I hear similarities to like the Sidekicks, and even reminds me, for some reason, listening to this record, do you remember that band Luther?
Oh, I loved Luther.
And we loved that record.
Yeah, Siblings and Sevens was so good.
Like, a lot of that.
Yeah.
Is what I get, the feeling I get when I listen to this Model Martel record.
And I even hear like less, like even I hear a little like Timeshares, like a little less of that Heartland element, but just the more like straight ahead power poppy punk stuff that they would do occasionally. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we can slot this in the orgcore category if we want. It's a wide umbrella at this point.
Yeah. I do think they self-describe themselves as just like a punk band, which I am always thankful for when a band does that. Because a lot of bands are running from the punk tag, and they're just trying to, we're an indie rock band. They describe themselves as a punkish band from Cleveland, Ohio. And I do think that is actually a very accurate description. Like, I'm not going to call it like, it's straight ahead punk rock. It's definitely got other stuff in there too, but punk is the driving force behind it. They're from the same, scene as that band House Ghost. House Ghost are from Dayton, so it's not quite Cleveland, but like it's a sonically very similar scene that they play with. And this band seems to be pretty active too. So I don't think this is a one and done band. I think we will be getting more from them. So I hope so. I really, really enjoyed this record. And Snappy Little Numbers is a fun, solid label that doesn't have just like a specific one thing they do. So it's kind of cool that this came out on that label as well. All right, number 15, it is Primary Colors by Dropkick. And this was released February 7th on Bobo Integral Records. Dropkick are from, I believe they say it's like, we're from the eastern part of Scotland, and not naming a city specifically, so my guess is it's several cities. But this was produced and recorded by Andrew Taylor, as well as mastered by Will Killingsworth. Will Killingsworth probably mastered half the albums I listened to in 2025, funnily. And this was hard to kind of figure out. This is the 16th studio album by Dropkick. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if there's some records they put out that aren't necessarily being considered LPs. It's just more of a collection. I based it on looking at Rate Your Music and Discogs to try and figure that out. Wikipedia too. And is the follow-up to 2023's The Wireless Revolution, which I believe was on our top list that year. And yeah, Dropkick, extremely, extremely prolific band that started in the early 2000s with Andrew Taylor. And he has been the lone constant of this band since then. And they've just constantly put stuff out. There's so many of Dropkick records. He has several solo albums as well. He has The Boys with the Perpetual Nervousness, which was like his other like straight up jangle pop worship record band that they've done, I think they've done 3 LPs, maybe 4. But they very prolific guy. This is the second album the Dropkick has released since shrinking down to the trio of Andrew Taylor on guitar, drums, and vocals, Ian Greer on bass and keys, and Alan Shields on guitar and lead vocals on the song Highs and Lows. I think he has another song he sings too. And funnily, Andrew Taylor also produced and performed on the album If You Play, Expect to Pay by the band Space Jaguar, who they already have their next record done. And they put it on Spotify like last week, but if you go to the page, it says the release date is February. I didn't listen to it, even though like it came out in December of 2025 on streaming. I was just like, I've closed my books, so Space Jaguar will have to count for a 2026 record if I get around to listening to it. Which the official release date is February, so that counts. Close enough for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this record. This is another band doing the jangle pop thing. They started in the early 2000s, while Teenage Fan Club were like very, very still active in releasing albums like every 2 to 3 years. And Dropkick borrows heavily from that sound, but they also borrow a lot from like more like alt country stuff. Like they borrow a lot from Wilco and a lot from, they also pull a lot from the Byrds too, but there's a twang. There's like a country twang the Dropkick has that a lot of the other UK jangle pop bands don't really have. So that kind of sets them apart, and just being prolific too.
Yeah. This record is the entry for the lack of a Teenage Fan Club record this year.
It's the official, stand
enough.
in.
This is our fill in. But yeah, I would say Dropkick does. The Byrds is a really good comparison. Like late period Byrds is a very good comparison for what they're doing. It's like instead of doing the same Byrds worship that all the other jangle pop bands did, they're doing the post Sweetheart of the Rodeo Byrds stuff. And bringing in those country influences. I hear a lot of like Mojave 3 and just not quite as sleepy. But that similar level of like UK interpretation of country influence. It's a good record. I mean, you really can't complain about the results. Like as much as, I'm joking about it being like a Teenage Fan Club knockoff. Like it's a good sound and it works for a reason.
I mean, and really to be fair, like Teenage Fan Club doesn't even sound like this version of Teenage Fan Club anymore. So like, the last couple Teenage Fan Club records have been a lot darker, and with the exit of Gerard, like their sound I feel like has gotten darker. I guess that's maybe with the inclusion of Raymond writing more songs per record, and he always had like the slower, darker songs typically. So like honestly, the Dropkick sounds more like old Teenage Fan Club than Teenage Fan Club does. So I think I made that joke last year or the last album they put out that they make better Teenage Fan Club records than Teenage Fan Club does now. So it's a great band. It's so many records to listen to. I listened to one record they put out a couple years ago. Which one was it? It was called, let's see. The Scenic Route came out in 2020. That's the first time I heard Dropkick. And I remember, I think I sent it to you at the time. I was like, it's very serious Teenage Fan Club vibes here. And sent it to you. And then, like, later I got into the Boys with the Perpetual Nervousness, and I was also like, wow, this is very Teenage Fan Club sounding. And then it wasn't until I was doing research for like one of those albums for the show, then I was like, wait, that's the same guy from Dropkick? Like, I just didn't learn it until like later that it was the same guy who was in both bands. And it's like, oh, no wonder they sound the same. But there's a lot of Dropkick to listen to. I've barely scratched the surface of their catalog. I listen to everything that they've reissued, because he's reissued like several of those records with lots of extra content on them. So like anytime he reissues a record, then I listen to that to be like, okay, now I know what that record sounds like. So one day I'll probably get all of them heard, but it'll be a while for sure. All right, moving on to number 14, and it is Prairie Vita by Evening Standards.
40 years on your feet, 20 on your back, 100 more for the traumas of your past. Once you add them up, once you lay them out, you will see a pattern when you start to look around. 'Cause there's one in a million, and then there is you. A whole other connection that I never knew, and I was drawing the right side of my brain. My darkest thoughts are circling the drain. I'll come and see you, baby, when I get the time. Oh, these last few years, you know, they haven't been so kind. There's a magnet on the fridge. I left a postcard sign singing hugs and kisses. I'm missing you all of the time.
This was released September 22nd on Basement Pop, and Evening Standards are from Gainesville, Florida, via Bloomington, Indiana. So this is the band's 5th studio album, and follows their 2024 record, The Shining. Very, very close release windows. A back-to-back LP releases is wild. It was recorded by Dan Arendt. And yeah, Evening Standards is a continuation of the long-running collaboration between guitarist and vocalist Chris Mott and bassist and vocalist Don Fields. Also joining the band on this record is Cole Champion of the band's Future Virgins. And wouldn't you know it, Greg O'Neill from Wife Patrol plays slide guitar on this record. That was a surprise. So speaking of me not knowing that Boys with Perpetual Nervousness was the Dropkick guy, I did not know that Greg O'Neill from Wife Patrol was on this record and the last Evening Standards record. That's that Indiana connection there, I suppose. I think they moved to Gainesville this year, and so I think it's I don't know if they recorded this in Indiana still or what, but I think they had like one of the members lived in Tennessee too. It's kind of one of those bands that was just like spread out anyway. But I knew nothing of this band. I think I'd seen the album cover to their last record, and if I remember, I think Dead Broke put it out, and I feel like I remember seeing it and sampling it and thinking like, maybe this is something I listened to, but just like it didn't hook me enough for me to like give the record a listen. And then I listened to this year, and then I went back and saw that cover. I was like, oh, okay, I recognize that album cover. But this one hooked me right away. I don't really know how to describe their sound. It's definitely in that mid-paced punky kind of thing that I was going for. There's some power poppiness. There's twang. There's a decent amount of twang on here too. Yeah, the vocal, harmonies, I guess, for lack of a better term, that I would describe them as a very X and John Doe and Exene Cervenka style like vocals of just the way they sing together. It just really, really reminded me of that. I don't know if you heard any of that when you were listening to it.
I can see that dynamic. It's like if you flipped the genders though, and the good singer was the woman and the bad singer was the guy. I think he's a good singer. He's just the less technically proficient. He's the pitchier one. I think it's cool. I think they did a really good job of like balancing that multi-vocalist approach, and I think it's one of those few examples of where like the guy-girl singing dynamic in a band, the guy justifies himself being there, Like, I didn't feel like listening to this record that I wished that she sang all of the songs. I think they had a really good dynamic in place. And I would say, I mean, they have a song on this record called Country Punks.
Yeah.
This is definitely like punks playing country, playing alt country. This is what, I mean, I think this record sounds great, and I wish that the current alt country scene sounded like this.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of MJ Linderman.
Yeah, this was a record that I just kind of kept coming back to. Like, once I heard it for the first time, which, like I said, it came out in September, and, like, I would listen to it, and I was like, I really like this. And, like, I wanted to hear it, like, very quickly after. You know, it was not much time between plays that I listened to it again. And just in the last few months since it's come out, like, I just keep going back to it and just, like, having a good time with it. You know, the harmonies that they do on this record, it works very much similar to how they do in X Void, where like they both basically sing most of the songs together front to back, which I always love when like you just have dual singers happening at the same time. And so I call it harmonizing. I don't know. There's no other better word, I guess, to describe it. They're not necessarily trying to like they're trying to stay in tune together, but they're not trying to like harmonize as like doing close harmonies, you know? They're just like, we're going to sing together. And I like that a lot. Like, I had a lot of that this year. Yeah, this is one that like I've not really dug into the old records, and I really want to. So definitely going to check out everything else they've done to see if this is, because they've already been in like tons of other bands together. Like they've collaborated on several bands in the past. So they know each other well. And my feeling is this band might be tight from the beginning, because they'd already like done like 3 other bands before they even did this one. So I really want to see like more just how the band progressed and how if they changed their sound. There was some member lineup change throughout the years too, but they are the main 2. So yeah, I need to hear more of this band, and you know, maybe check out some of the other projects they'd worked on in the past. This was one that I was really encouraging you to listen to this one. I was like, I really want you to listen to this one so we can talk about it on the best of audio, because there weren't a lot that I was like, I really need you to hear this. There was some stuff that you were like, I need to hear this, that was on my list too, but it was stuff you just hadn't got to yet. But this one I was like, please listen to it. And I'm glad it made your list, because it's one of my favorite records of the year. All right, moving on to number 13, and it is No Place by Wife Patrol. Speaking of Indiana, released May 2nd, this was a self-released record, and Wife Patrol are from Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is their second studio album and follows their 2020 record, Too Prickly for This World. This was produced by the band and P. David Hazel, who recorded their last record as well. And this is just how it worked out. Like, this is the median ranking. That's how we wound up with Evening Standards and Wife Patrol next to each other, and I kind of love that both Greg O'Neill projects are side by side on this list. It is very entertaining to me. But yeah, so this is 5 years after their debut record. They have finally released their second album. And Wife Patrol are such a good band. They play everything. They mix in elements of punk rock as well as, you know, indie, power pop, jangle, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of vocally, there's a lot of like B-52s and the Go-Go's type harmonies here. But then there's like straight up heavy metal riffs all over this record. You know, there's Sabbath and Judas Priest style riffs all over this record. And they're just like a cool mixture of a lot of different sounds that you would think wouldn't work together, but works together so well. Like if I told you want to hear a band with Black Sabbath riffs and B-52's harmonies, you'd probably say yes, but you wouldn't expect how that would work. And Wife Patrol is that, and that's how it works. It's so cool. I love what this group does. I love that they just kind of do their own thing. Like both records they've released, they self-released. They just did it on their own. They have no label support. They got a lot of attention in 2020 when everybody was at home and just like sharing music together for a while. And it was around like the George Floyd protests that there was like this list of bands going around that featured like Black members of the band. And there was this really strong push online of people being like, we should be embracing and listening to more music from non-white musicians. And I think that's how I found Wife Patrol. They were on that list. And I think I just sampled just about everything on there and just found the stuff I liked and didn't like. And then Wife Patrol was in there, and I just, the record maybe hadn't even been out. They had some songs up, I think. And I was just like blown away by those first couple songs. And then the record came out, and I was just like, this is like one of my favorite things that's come out this whole year. So we had them on the show that year. And then we actually had them on the show this year as well to talk about No Place. They, I think they reached out first initially because they were like, we got a new record. Do you want to, write about it or talk about it on your show? And I was like, do you want to come on the show? And they were like, sure, let's do it. So, just really fun conversations with them. I don't know. Your thoughts?
This record's a lot of fun. It is such an ambitious thing to, like the first 3 songs on this record, it's like a Pink Floyd song, like a power pop new wave song, with horns,
sax all over that thing,
and like an REM song,
Yeah.
Like they really are all over the place, and like it really works well. They're good at everything that they try, which is really cool because a lot of times bands try to do stuff and it's like, I really wish you'd just do that one thing you're good at.
Yeah.
Stop trying to do other stuff. But I want to hear Wife Patrol try everything.
Yeah, like
I feel like they
try black metal next.
Yeah.
Try a slowcore song. Try like do like a full on like synthy thing. Like I want them to do everything at this point because I think they could do it. I kind of love when a band comes out of nowhere. They have no connections to anything outside of like their area. Like some of them are initially from Bloomington. I think maybe they met there, and then they play in Indianapolis. Indiana's not necessarily known for like a huge booming music scene, so it kind of like gets to exist in its own little ecosystem and create its own little connections. And yeah, I just loved it. Like I cannot get enough of this band and everything they do. They're just supremely talented too. Like I believe Greg plays all the guitars on the record, and he's just a brilliant guitar player. The harmonies are phenomenal. Like those are close harmonies, that I was talking about in the last record not being close. These are close harmonies and just so good. I love this band, and hopefully we're not, it's not gonna take another 5 years for another record from them, but I think they had some stuff kind of going on. Oh, speaking of stuff going on, Natasha, the drummer and one of the vocalists of this band, after we had them on the show, it was like a couple weeks later or maybe a few months where it was revealed that Natasha is currently going through breast cancer treatment. So we are sending all of our, love, prayer, thoughts, hope, whatever it is that you ascribe to, like, to her, and hopefully that she is managing well and we'll just knock this out completely. I haven't really seen any updates as far as that's concerned, but it's a long process too. You got a lot to go through and a lot to deal with. So yeah, we obviously we want her to pull through and get back to living her life how she wants to, and but yeah. Just thought I would mention that too, just to throw that out there. So continue to send those positive thoughts their way. All right, number 12, it is Near Death Travel Services by Deadguy. Released June 27th on Relapse Records. Deadguy from New Jersey. Just New Jersey. And this is their second studio album and their first new music since the 1996 EP Screamin' with the Deadguy Quintet. This was produced by Steve Evans. And yeah, 30 years ago, Deadguy released Fixation on a Coworker. Massively influential record. A killer album from the time period that still holds up to this day. Super influential. And then Tim Singer, lead singer, and guitarist Keith Huckins both exited the band, and they moved to Seattle. And while in Seattle, they formed Kiss It Goodbye with some of Keith's Rorschach bandmates. And Kiss It Goodbye had a little bit of a career too. And then they also called it quits. Deadguy would continue with a new vocalist and guitarist, but they only released that one EP. And then they also called it quits. And so yeah, we flash forward to now. Deadguy is back. We have Tim and Keith back in the band. We also have returning guitarist Chris Corvino and drummer Dave Rosenberg and bassist Jim Baglino, who Jim actually joined Deadguy after Fixation on a Coworker, so he's only on the final EP. So it's kind of like a weird little bit of a blend of the last EP and the Fixation on a Coworker lineup. Interestingly, drummer Dave Rosenberg led the charge on the songwriting for this record. At least that's how they described it. They said he learned how to play guitar and wrote tons of riffs for this album. So I guess if Dave had not decided to just I want to learn how to play guitar and start writing riffs, would Deadguy have, had a new record? I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah, it's kind of funny that the guy who was not pushing them on the guitar is now the one pushing them. So that is very cool. You had this record very high on your list. So what are your feelings on this Deadguy record?
Yeah, I think this was number 3 on my list.
Yeah, you had it way up there.
It's so good. It shouldn't be this good. No band should be able to come back after that much time and put out such a good record. And we'll get to it. It's not the only one this year. Yeah. And looking at our list, I kind of noticed we had, I think, a heavier list than usual, especially if you look at our from here on out, how much heavy stuff is up there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty good year for heavy music for me, and most of it started with this Deadguy record for me. This was the big one when it came out that I was just like, hey, I like hardcore. I like this kind of hardcore.
Yeah.
My initial listen, it just took a little bit of acclimating to the production style, the tightness and cleanness of it. But the sound is there, the feeling is there, the rhythms are there. It is funny that the drummer is here, these are the riffs I want to play drums to.
But he doesn't actually play guitar on the record too.
Yeah.
Which I find funny. It's well, we already got 2 guitarists. We don't need a third guitarist. But yeah, maybe, and also, if he just learned how to play guitar, maybe he's just doesn't know how to play, write a full song, but he could just write riffs. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, it could just be a case of he's not proficient at playing guitar, and it's going to be more work to fix it than it is for somebody else to just learn the songs and play it. And,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the guitarists want to have their own, spin on it too. But yeah, I could see how that would, if he's just here's the pattern of the riffs,
which that feels like a way the drummers write anyway. The way drummers do, they just have to come up with different parts. That's how they write for music. And drummers aren't typically sitting down and writing from the beginning to the end of a song. A lot of guitar players don't even do that either, but it's more I got this drum pattern. Oh, that's cool. That kind of lines up with I got these riffs. Oh, that's cool. Let's try that,
I think Chris's voice sounds great still. Still super unhinged.
You mean Tim's voice?
Tim's voice. Yeah, I don't know why I say Chris. Chris is guitarist.
Guitarist, yeah. I think Chris sang on the one EP that Tim is not on. I mean, I love that Steve Evans recorded their first LP and also recorded their second one, 30 years later. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, Steve's done.
We just talked about him.
A lot of stuff we talked about recently.
Lifetime, I think. Hello Bastards was the most recent one we did.
And he's the guy that did every Dillinger Escape Plan record.
Yeah.
For, I think actually all of them, because he did even recent ones. Yeah. which that's cool too. Like to go in to the studio with somebody that did your masterpiece
Yeah, right.
so many years later and like put out a record that is nearly as good. I mean, because like it's not just good. Like this record's not just good. It's not just for being a good reunion record. Like it really is an incredibly good metalcore record.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have, obviously, it's not going to have the same like history and impact of that, of Fixation on a Coworker. It doesn't have the legacy. It doesn't have, the importance of when it came out, but the riffs are great. The vocals are great. The lyrics are great. It has surprises on it too. Like there's just unexpected things that happen on the record.
I was listening back to it yesterday because I re-listened to everything this week because I wanted it all kind of fresh in my head. And when they get to that song where it's like the TikTok text voice thing, just like reading the Deadguy lyrics essentially at like the back end of that song, just threw me because it was just so funny to hear like some of the things that they have it saying. I forget what the words are, but it was just like, this is funny to have a TikTok voice singing this kind of stuff. Yeah, it just sounds massive, just monstrous sounding. Like Tim is one of the best hardcore vocalists of all time. I love Tim's voice. Keith is one of the best like guitarists from this era too, like the Deadguy record, the Rorschach records that he did. Like just such a good guitar player. Everyone is tight here. Everybody sounds really good here. And yeah, we've said the thing of in the past, like very more times than not, the comeback record is not even as good as the last thing or the, some of the weaker things that you put out when you left off on the band. So this blows it's okay. It's not as good as Fixation on a Coworker. That record is so good and it's untouchable, but like, it's definitely better than any of the other stuff they did, like the other EPs and especially the final EP. So yeah, this is one of those examples of a band coming back and actually either picking up where they left off or even slightly better than where they left off. So yeah, I definitely think this is an improvement over the final EP from Deadguy. And this is on like Rolling Stone's like metal list of the year. Wild. All right, moving on. Number 11. It is In the Heart of the Mountain by Ben Nichols.
I know I'm in over my head. All I ever think about is you. I wanna hear you say you love me. I don't think it's looking like you do. I know how it should be, but I just can't get it right. I wish I could be somebody different from me. I know that I'm in over my
head. Released July 25th on Liberty and Lament. Ben Nichols is from Memphis, Tennessee, and this is his second solo album. This follows 2008's Last Pale Light in the West, and it was produced by Ben Nichols and Matt Ross Spang. So, yeah, Ben Nichols, we all know and love him from Lucero, and Lucero is a band that tends to make our list whenever we do these, so, yeah, we were going to get a Ben record on here as well. But anytime, like, Ben Nichols does a solo record, which is now the second time, I'm always like, do we need solo Ben records? Like, he is the primary songwriter of Lucero, and what he does with his solo records is not drastically different than what they do with Lucero. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, what's the point of this? Do you need like just a new batch of songs to give to your brother for all of his movies? Because a lot of those Last Pale Light in the West songs wound up in a lot of Jeff Nichols' movies. It's like, I don't want the guy. See, that doesn't even fit with what like I think of Lucero and Ben Nichols. It's like, I don't think he's going to be like, I need to make money separate from them. Like, no, I don't think that's what it is. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the working with different people is maybe the thing that he's going for. I don't know. I don't know his reasoning, but joining him on this record is singer-songwriter Corey Brannon on guitar and backing vocals. We also have Todd Bean of Glossary on pedal steel guitar and backing vocals. And we have violinist Morgan Eve Swain, who has collaborated with The Devil Makes 3 this year as well. So maybe it's just like I want to work with some different people. Because I listen to this record and I'm like, this could be a Lucera record. No one would bat an eye if this was a Lucera record. But Corey Brandon's all over this record. And that's kind of cool. Because do you remember when Corey Brandon was like this hot, up and coming like singer-songwriter guy in like the alt country punk rock troubadour scene?
Corey Brandon is one of those guys that should be massive, and he gets in his own way a lot. Great songwriter, great guitarist, really good looking too. Just that alone should make him way more successful. But he messes up his own records, for one. He just can't not mess with them. He just always does stuff that is not what you expect it to do. You see him live, and it's just him playing acoustic guitar, singing, and you're like, that's what I want to hear. And then you go listen to his record, and there's like, he's got like organs on there, and he's doing like new wave songs. And it's just, he doesn't do the records right in terms of production. He likes to fuck around a lot. So him being on this Ben record, it's funny because he's like, what he's adding to it is what he should be doing to his own records.
Yeah. Because for a minute there, he was like this, like, he's your favorite musician's favorite musician type thing. Like, everybody was praising him. I know for a fact Ben Nichols, Chuck Reagan, Austin Lucas, like all of them would be like, Corey Brandon's the man. He's the guy. He's so good. We should all be, listening to his records instead of our own.
Yeah. Open for Gaslight Anthem a lot. Dashboard covered.
Played with Dave House a lot. And he did that record in 2017, Adios, and I remember liking it. And then he did another record. It took him years to follow it up. It was 2022 was the next one he did. And then he put out a song this year with Tyler Childers. Childers? Yeah,
Tyler Childers has been covering a Corey Brandon song a lot.
So maybe we're about to see a little revival of Corey Brandon, maybe? Unless he just gets in his own way again.
Yeah. This Ben Nichols record, I feel like it's a very good summary of the last 3 Lucero records. And it's kind of like if you take a lot of the qualities of those 3 records and roll them into one. And more so like Among the Ghosts and When You Found Me, the space rock record, than the last one. But there is a little bit, I think the quality of the songwriting is on par with the last Lucero record, which is the strongest record they've done in a very, very long time.
Yeah, wow. Since what? Women at Work even?
I would say possibly better than Women in Work.
Yeah.
As a record overall. And this Ben Nichols record is pretty close. I would say it's one of the strongest things he's done in the context of Lucero in a long time. And I think what Ben Nichols does on his solo records, at least this one in particular, is just focus on the Townes Van Zandt influence that I think has always kind of lurked under the current of Lucero, but Lucero as a band is just such a bar rock band past a certain point that if you take away that element and you just get to the fundamental songwriting that Ben Nichols does, this is one of the more actually country sounding things that he's done. There's lots of cool Dire Straits sounding guitar leads on this record.
That was one thing I noticed. I was like, oh, this is clearly somebody different soloing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is not Brian Venable. Doing solos. It don't even really sound like Ben solos either. I mean, sure, there's some of them on here, but I was like, oh, that's a different person's solo, which I guess is all Corey. Yeah.
This record, to me, it has if you take the kind of historical story songs from Among the Ghosts and you actually deliver on the cosmic Americana references that they cited on When You Found Me, that's kind of what this record is. And it works really well. I think Ben has reached a new point with his voice too. He's been kind of struggling for a little while, I think. But the last Lucero record sounded a lot better than the one before it. His voice sounded better and was not as obviously tuned. So I think he's found a new lane with his voice and really settled into it, and it sounds good on this record.
Isn't it funny that Lucero is now the band that they experiment with their sound more than when Ben goes solo? Because, like, 1372 and Women in Work was them being like, what if we were still us, but we added, like, a stack sound, horns to our sound? And the piano. The piano was added to the band around that period, too. And so that gave them some new life for a little bit. And then they did that one record where they're like, we're trying to do a Warren Zevon record. And that one didn't quite work as well. Then they did their historical Civil War ghost album. Basically is how I describe Among the Ghosts. Which, when I listen to that record, that feels like that's what a Ben Solo record should sound like. But then they follow that up with their Cosmic Country record, which also didn't work. And then they finally were like, let's just kind of go back to the ass kicker country punk thing that we were doing initially. And this is still like the more, straight ahead, like country thing. Cause like, I thought maybe this was a concept record. I don't know that it is. That Last Red Light in the West was a concept record. It was based on a Cormac McCarthy novel that they were adapting for music. That didn't age well.
Oops.
Oh no. He's always one of those guys that I was like, I got to get around to reading one of those books. And now I'm like, I don't got to get around to shit.
Oh, now I never need to read those books.
Oh, you just took a whole bunch of stuff off my list. I don't have to watch. I'll watch an adaptation, I guess. That's where I'll be. But I don't feel a need to go back and be like, now I got to read Blood Meridian. But and I thought maybe that's what this would be, but I don't think it is a concept record. If the concept is I want to make a country record, or like an old school country record, then that was accomplished, I guess. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. I do. Go ahead.
He's just leaning into like the mystical stuff, I think.
Yeah.
It's more of an aura on this record than it is a concept record. I don't think it's like telling the story of a character or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. This is, besides the last Lucero record, this is probably the best thing he's done in several years. So, yeah. Number 10, Time Won't Bring Me Down by Radioactivity. Released October 31st on Dirt Nap and Wild Honey Records. Radioactivity are from Austin, Texas, and this is their third studio album and follows 2015's Silent Kill. Radioactivity is the brainchild of the Marked Men's Jeff Burke. Following the end of the Marked Men, Jeff wound up moving to Japan, and he started a band there called The Novice. And when Jeff returned to the U.S., he created Radioactivity to serve as a continuation of the sound that he was playing with in The Novice. And he brought in his Marked Men bandmate Mark Ryan to play as well. And Mark Ryan brought in his Mind Spiders bandmates Gregory Rutherford and Daniel Freed. So the Radioactivity is like a continuation of the Marked Men sound. Everything I read about this record, or just Radioactivity in general, just talked about how it's like, it's Jeff Burke's baby. It's Jeff Burke's child. And it's like, well, I mean, you do also have your other Marked Men bandmate in the band, but he also has his own little like bands and on the side, so maybe it is just a case of like, this is what I'm writing, you want to play too. It's maybe what all that is. But I'm kind of going to let you take a little bit lead on this record, because this record is very highly rated for you personally.
Yeah, I had this number one on my
with a bullet
originally, and I going back through and listening to everything, I don't know that I have a clear number one. I kind of feel like I might just have like a tie for number one between a few different records. And this would be one of them. It's definitely one of the records I was looking forward to the most this year. And I really felt like it delivered. It does what I want whenever I have listened to Radioactivity, more so than Silent Kill, the 2015 record. That one is good, but it's the one I've reached for the least in the Marked Men discography and the well, I guess like some of the earliest Markman stuff I haven't gone to as much, but I loved their self-titled record, the 2013 record. I came to that one a few years after it had come out, and it was really my gateway into the Markman. And that Radioactivity record, there's something about it that it's just one of those records, and this record I think does kind of the same thing, where I just keep turning the volume up until I'm like full volume in my headphones, and I'm like, this is too much. What? But I don't want to turn it down. And there's just something about the longing and ache of his melodies with that Ramones downstroke driving rhythm it's so satisfying to me. And it's like petting a cat real hard. That's what I feel like is happening to me when I listen to a Radioactivity record and listen to a Markman record. I'm just like smoothing all the wrinkles out.
He can't feel it. You gotta pet him hard like this.
And I don't know, there's something that's so satisfying and comforting when I listen to these Radioactivity records and the Markman records. And they're just cool. I don't know. They're cool. They're pretty, but tough, and catchy. And there's a lot more cleaner tones on this record. The guitars are cleaner. There's kind of some surprises, I think, in the production. Like, it still maintains that driving Ramones rhythm, but they mix things up a little bit. There's some additional guitars in here and sounds in here that I wasn't expecting.
Here's a question. Is Jeff Burke the Texas John Reis? The Denton, Texas John Reis?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a big similarity in terms of their guitar playing and approach.
Because I always get those vibes when I listen to them. I'm just like, it's very... I mean, the Ramones downstroke thing is very obvious, which I guess John Reis is doing a lot of downstroking too on his stuff. But yeah, I always just had that, like, very similar to, some Hot Snakes stuff,
Yeah, they're both just an endless well of riffs, I think.
Yeah.
And tunes. And it's just... And they're always writing in pretty much the same lane. Like, they're always trying to do the same thing. I would say both are like a garagey punk band is like the basic template of what they do.
Yeah.
And you would think that that's a very small sandbox, but they're able to keep churning out unique songs and riffs. Yeah, I think there's a similarity. If I were to try and start another band right now, I would say a Marked Men meets Hot Snakes.
That sounds cool as hell. I will say that some of the like really big standouts on this record for me is like the very end of the record. I love how the record kind of ends on like those kind of slower songs. They took a step back a little bit and decided to go, instead of just the kind of full steam ahead approach that most of the record kind of follows, they ended on like these two slower songs that were just like hyper melodic. And I love them. Like, those stood out to me the most, which, you're dealing with a strong record when the very end of it is like catching your attention too. My Marked Men Radioactivity knowledge is very small. I listened to this record. I listened to their first Radioactivity record. I've done a couple Marked Men albums, but all of it basically within the last 3 or 4 years. And I saw them at Fest that same year that you saw them. And like, that's it. Like, I don't have a ton of experience with Radioactivity. So I'm not as knowledgeable on this band and what the rest of their catalog really does sound like, but I had a really good time listening to this album. It was a lot of fun. I did kind of feel bad that like this was like your number one, but I do feel a little better now that you're like, I don't know if I have a real number one. So that makes you go, oh, okay, a little better.
Yeah. The stuff that stuck with me this year, I think all is vying for number one. And
you got a 10-way tie for first.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to number 9. It is Tout Beaucoup by Sick Things. and this was released May 16th. It is a self-released album. Sick Things are from Montreal, Quebec, and this is their second studio album following their 2018 self-titled debut. It was recorded by Ryan Battistuzzi, and this was one I just stumbled across. I have a handful of blogs that I go to every week to check out and see what new music is coming out or stuff that I may have missed, and one of them is this blog called Add to Want List, and I think I found a lot of things this year off that website. And I just, I saw a description that I was like, that kind of sounds interesting. So I sampled the tracks that they had there and was immediately hooked right away. So they are a French-Canadian band who's basically doing Thin Lizzy worship. This is a twin guitar celebration of the Thin Lizzy catalog, because there is so much of that tone. Like, the tone matches perfectly. The style of guitar is dead on, and it's just so like indebted to that very specific sound, and it is so much fun. The vocals are a little bit more gruff. Thin Lizzy had some kind of cleaner vocals, but yeah, these are more like gruff kind of punk vocals that you would expect to hear from something out of the scene. But then, like, if as you listen to the record, you hear more things. Like, there's one song on this record, I've talked about this on the I'm Listening, but like, it starts off with basically the Sex Pistols, like, Pretty Vacant opening riff that then like immediately turns into like The Who. It turns into like one of their songs, like a Bob O'Reilly or something like that. There's like big Kiss elements on here. Like, I hear lots of like that kind of the early, the 70s Kiss period, where it was like a very guitar rock, Ace Frehley guitar tone kind of thing. Yeah, there's like a punk rock edge to everything that they do as well. It's a wild record. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, we're trying to match a sound. That's what we're going for. Instead of just being like a cover band and doing just like, yeah, we're just going to do The Boys Are Back in Town for, playing at these Montreal, bars or something like that. Instead, they were like, we wish there was more Thin Lizzy. Let's try and make more Thin Lizzy, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of people are like, it's too derivative. It sounds too much like, this. It's like, but you're not getting more Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy stopped putting out records in the 80s. And, they continued on. And then once Phil died, they continued without him, but it's just still kind of like, okay, this is not the same. And one of the guys who continued with Thin Lizzy just died too. So it's one of those, it's like, it's okay if somebody wants to try and do Thin Lizzy again. It's fine. Thin Lizzy rocks. Why wouldn't you want to do more? Sweat is always trying to do like a hardcore version of Thin Lizzy, and they do it pretty well, but they're not doing the exact same thing. But yeah, I loved this record. This was one, I heard it, and it became my number one around the time that it came out. It was my number one for a good chunk of the year, and I knew there was something that was going to potentially dethrone it, and then two things dethroned it, but this is still my number 3 album of the year. Like, I love this record, and it's just pure joy when I listen to it. I just have fun. And yeah, this is one I know I kind of had to like kind of get you to listen to this one. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, you did include on your list, so
I thought it was a lot of fun. I think 70s rock and roll sounds cool.
Yeah,
it still does, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It feels like it's a really impressive version of this. A lot of times that kind of retro rehash recycle thing doesn't land and always feels too like calculated and costumey. And I feel like this is like a genuine exercise in making a 70s rock record now. And like, they kind of look the part, but like, they're not, they just have long hair and mustaches. I don't know. They're not like, they're not wearing full on costumes. Like, they look like guys that genuinely wear vintage clothes.
Yeah. But they're not Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, do you really wear that kind of like, those kind of like bandana tops?
Yeah, they're not doing Davey Havoc.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, Davey Havoc looks like he is in this band now, but yeah.
It's like how it reminds me a lot of like Super Crush.
Yeah. Yeah, that type of approach that they have, yeah.
Like, it's definitely not a power pop band. It is a 70s hard rock sound, but like it's the same kind of thing. Like, because I think that Super Crush is like, they're kind of doing a pastiche too, but like it's just, you can tell it's sincere. It doesn't fall flat. It is a lot of fun. It's not a shrewd, like calculated thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be like making a lot of money off of this. It's self-released too, you know. They believe in it themselves. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. It's one I just kind of kept coming back to after I heard it and just couldn't stop having fun with it. All right, number 8. We kind of got a 2-for-1 deal going on here, so we'll explain. But number 8, it is Livin' on a Prayer on the Edge. It is also 1 Week Off, both by Ryan Allen. So, released April 25th and October 3rd, respectively. Both albums were released on Setterwind Records. Ryan Allen is from outside of Detroit, Michigan, and this is his 7th and 8th solo album. And it follows the last rock band that was released in 2023, and it was all recorded by Ryan Allen. And so, yeah, Ryan Allen, songs just kind of fall out of this guy. So, every year since we first became aware of him, Ryan Allen has become a regular in his best of lists. We actually did have him on the show. We had him on around when his band Extra Arms released their album. What was that called? What Is Even Happening Right Now in 2022. And he'd already been doing Extra Arms for a long time at that point. And we just, stumbled across it and just dug it. And then once having him on, I've started to dig even more into everything he's done. So, between Extra Arms, he has so many other bands. He has solo records. He has Big Life, which is like his hardcore band. He's in another band called Speed Circuit. He's just very prolific. He made a name for himself playing in Thunderbirds Are Go in the 2000s. That's probably his biggest claim to fame. And, Extra Arms was our intro to him. So it was announced earlier this year that Extra Arms were going to be going on hiatus. I don't think it's a full breakup. It's just that the rest of the band is taking a break. And it left Ryan with some time to record himself. So he decided to go in and record Living on a Prayer on the Edge, which was him trying to emulate the feeling that he had as a kid when he was first getting into music. Like, this was his kind of like love letter to his musical growth and just falling in love with music and referring to stuff that he, got into as a youth and then trying to bring that into the present day. And I think this is the kind of record that is him trying to be like, this is me at my purest form. And they went into making it sound as big as possible as well. It's mixed really well. It just, the songwriting is phenomenal and just, it's a super well done record. So then a little later in the year, by the way, he released a Big Life record too. He actually has 3 LPs this year. The Big Life record was a really good hardcore record. He's not the vocalist in that one, but I think he plays guitar. Very busy man. So around, I believe he said around like the end of summer, his family typically takes, like a week off to go on vacation somewhere, go somewhere that they want to go to. And this year they were going to do like a staycation. Instead of going anywhere, they're just going to stay home, save some money, and just do some stuff. And he was like, I'm just going to do stuff around the house. And then he decided, what if I tried to write a record and record it an entire week? Which is just like, what? Why? Wrote is not the most accurate term. So basically what Ryan did for this record is that he dug into all the old demos that he had recorded, and he wanted to find a bunch of songs that had like a similar sonic quality, and he wanted to record them all on a 4-track recorder. He was kind of doing this like, I'm going to do this lo-fi thing. It's, there's a bunch of songs that all kind of fit together, but didn't make an album cut. He started to record it that way, and then just was like, what am I doing? And just switched to his DAW. Just doing like, I'm going to record it like normal. Like, I'm not going to use just the 4-track thing. And then he went about recording all of these songs. He didn't write these songs in a week, so, a little bit easier to do, but he still just has a treasure trove of songs that he has recorded that he's never put out or recorded fully with a full band. But he plays everything on both of these records. And to me, it's like, it's opposite ends of the same spectrum. It's like Living on a Prayer on the Edge is like him being maximalist and doing everything he possibly can to make it as like pure of a record as he can. And then 1 Week Off is him just being like, it's an experiment. Like, I'm just going to try and knock this out in a week and see what it does. And both are phenomenal records. And we both had them on our list. I had 1 Week Off rated higher, and you had Living on the Edge as higher for you. And so I was just like, well, if we'd both had the same one as our higher pick, I probably would have just picked that one and put it on there. But because we both had them flip-flopped in like ranking order, I was just like, well, let's talk about both of them, because we would have mentioned the other one anyway. But yeah, what are your thoughts on these two Ryan Allen records?
Yeah, so I loved Living on a Prayer on the Edge when it came out. I was like, that's great. This is top albums of the year contender material. Really have grown to appreciate Ryan as a songwriter, as a band leader, a self-produced artist, someone who's this prolific and can do all of this stuff himself. I just think it's incredible and really something to aspire to. And so I loved that record immediately. I was like, this is great. Like, this is awesome. Power pop, indie rock, a lot of fun, a lot of variety, trying out some different stuff. And then 1 Week Off came out, and I was just like, what? Another one? Already?
And another one. Yeah.
And it was a total blast, too. And I was just like, I think I probably like the other one. Like, I probably like the one that, he took his time and is like, it's more of the proper record, and it's the thing that the artist, like, really wants you to like.
Yeah.
I probably liked that one more. But, like, to just do this off the cuff,
Yeah.
it's like this good. I'm like, that's not fair. No one's that good. So listening to both of the records again for this recording, I just listened to them both back to back and was not tired of them at all. Like, that's like not quite an hour of material between the two albums. But like, I listened to it and I thought, he could have put both of these out together. He could have put all this stuff. I mean, I know that's just not how it happened. He was working on one and then just happened to make another record because he had the time to do it. But like, he could have done them both. He could do an hour-long record. Ryan Allen power pop double album. Go for it.
Except he doesn't make long records. Like, all of his records are like 30 and under. Like, I feel like he's a pretty like tight, that's probably why he winds up with so many extra songs, is because he's just like, well, I only want like 10 or 11 songs, and I want it to be 30 minutes, so I'm just going to save everything else.
Which he's doing, that's what you're supposed to do. I think that's what most people can do, but I think at this point, he's one of those songwriters, and that the stuff that he picks up off the cutting room floor is as good. And like, certainly like some of the stuff on 1 Week Off, like I think Time Stealer and like Simple Pleasure, like there's so much stuff. Do It All Again, like those songs probably were gonna make the next album anyway. Like there's so much stuff on here that I'm just like, there's no way this is like back burner extra content. Like, this is surely was gonna be on the next record. But I think it's just like, oh, let me go back through my demos and like, what did I cut? What did I not finish? And you have this consistently enjoyable. It's like,
he had enough leftovers that he could choose a tone that he was going for. Like, instead of just being like, yeah, I got these extras, I guess I could put them all together. He was like, I have so many extra that I can actually make a cohesive record out of all my extras and leftovers. Yeah. Prolific songwriters. I love it. I love a prolific songwriter. Like, someone who has, oh yeah, I do something every single year is incredible. I love that so much. And again, That doesn't even count the hardcore record he did this year, too. And then those random covers. Big Life covered like a Husker Du song, and then he formed a new band to just cover Wire's Ex Lion Tamer. Like, he has a whole new side band. Like, I don't even know what he's planning to do with that one. I'm assuming that's just his live band now, since the Extra Arms guys are on break. And so he's like, well, I still want to play live, so I need somebody to play with. And so he put this group together, too. And it's just like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if next year that group has a record. So it's incredible. It's incredible stuff. All right. Well, we're going to move on to number 7, and it is Yell at Cloud by Plosivs. Released November 28th is the late entry into the year. Came out on Swami Records. They were from San Diego, California. And this is the second album by the band following their 2022 self-titled debut. And it was recorded by Ben Moore and Mike Braidoveski. And Plosivs is a supergroup of sorts that consists of John Reis of Rocket from the Crypt, Hot Snakes, and more fame, alongside Rob Crow of Pinback, Goblin Cock, Thingy, Heavy Vegetable, and several more bands as well. We have Adam Willard on drums here, and Adam is in a million bands, but he was in Rocket from the Crypt, so there's the connection there. And then we have Jordan Clark of Mrs. Magician as well in this lineup, and Jordan Clark is someone that John Reis has been collaborating with a lot lately. This record was 4 years in the making. They began recording in Winnipeg in December of 2020, and a blizzard hit while they were recording, and they lost power. So they wrote and recorded this album by generator power and candlelight. And then once the ice melted away, they went back home and they would just come back to this record later and finish it. So it took them like 4 years. I mean, it was December 2020, so I guess more like 3, but I guess it is 4 years still. I don't know the timeline. When did the self-titled get recorded? Because the way the timeline works out, it sounds like they started with this record and then did the self-titled. But I could be wrong. Maybe that self-titled was like recorded in like 2018. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I could, out of curiosity, I could look at their Bandcamp. But like, just, it's funny to me that they were just like, let's put it on the back burner.
Yeah, they supposedly formed in 2020.
So this has to be the first record then. This is what they were trying to do first, right? Is it a case of they were just like, I don't think I was happy with it. Do you want to do something else?
I don't know. I don't think they'll say,
Yeah.
I think they're just like, yeah, here you go. This is what you get. And like,
I mean, maybe this is a very similar thing to what Ryan Allen does, and they just had a bunch of songs, and they were just like, yeah, we could put those out, I guess. And they just sit on stuff for a long time. Rob Crow is very much like John Reis in the sense that they had a million other bands and side projects that they did alongside their main ones. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's just like whole bands. There's probably like whole records from lineups that have never been released out there by these guys, Listening to this record, it does sound more like Pinback than the last Plosivs record. That Plosivs record, I said that record sounds like Rob Crow trying to make a Hot Snakes album. Like he's just going for it. He's trying to do it in their way. And this one feels more like an actual collaboration between John Reis and Rob Crow, and it actually sonically is a middle ground between two of those bands there.
Yeah. This record sounds more like what I thought they would sound like.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, it's the guy from Pinback and a guy from Hot Snakes, John Reis, doing a band together. This is more in line with what I expected. So I could see this being the first thing they recorded.
Yeah.
If they formed in 2020 and they recorded this in 2020, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the first thing they recorded, and then they went home and like wrote a bunch more stuff and they like leaned into more of a Hot Snakes sound. This record also it's really interesting to me because there's a lot of riffs on here. The way that some of these songs are constructed that sound more like Drive Like Jehu than anything John Reis has done since then. And Hot Snakes always kind of leaned a little more Drive Like Jehu than anything else he did, mostly because it was both of them again.
Yeah,
But even like Hot Snakes, I always felt like they were always trying to be more concise. They were always faster than Jehu was. But there's a lot of riffs on this Plosivs record that sound like those kind of, and it really is like a classic San Diego Jehu post-hardcore thing. It's just that bow da 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 bow kind of like lurching rhythm that they would do. And that was a very like Drive Like Jehu sounding thing that Hot Snakes kind of touched a little bit, but it wasn't the same level of like really kind of stretch out those big riffs.
I do wonder if that was the intention. Maybe they were trying to go for a little bit more of a Jehu thing, because Rob Crow goes all the way back to Drive Like Jehu with John Reis. He does backing vocals on, I think, the first Jehu record. So like Rob, San Diego bands, they're all sticking together pretty tight. Like Rob Crow was on the first Jehu record, and that's way before the first Pinback record. Like he had his other bands before, Thingy and Heavy Vegetable, and he had a ton of bands before. And then, Zach had 3 Mile Pilot, and so that scene was just like a very tight scene. So it's just wild to me that like Rob Crow is on that, like the first thing we get from. He's not on Pitchfork stuff too, is he? That would be wild if he's on like some backing vocals on Pitchfork. He might be, though, now that I think about it. So they go way, way back. So it is almost kind of surprising that it took them like 35 years before they like did something, 30 years before they did something together, despite knowing each other forever. Yeah. And I became like a big Pinback fan over the last couple of years because of the Challengeography series I did on them. And so when that record came out, I don't know if I hadn't done my Pinback dive yet. So this is the first record that they put out after I became a fan of Pinback, which maybe means I'm primed to hear the Pinback more, but even you heard it more on this one too. So yeah, it's just how this record sounds. So
yeah, there's slower stuff, there's cleaner stuff, there's a little more of like that kind of. Even his vocals are like way more Summer and Abaddon sounding on this record than what he did on the self-titled record. I think he yelled more on the self-titled. Yeah, just it is really cool that like these two phenomenal musicians actually found each other and actually put out good stuff too along with it. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I don't know what the deal with Plosivs is. They played shows. I guess I don't know what the deal with either one of them is most of the time. Everything they do seems like on a whim, Yeah. I'm just gonna do something now.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a comedy grindcore band called Anal Trump. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And it has 40 songs on it. It's like, all right, Rob. Goblin Cock is him, which that is very funny to me. He's the same guy from Goblin Cock. Meanwhile, all the John Reis bands do sound like John Reis bands. So yeah, fun stuff. All right, number 6. It is The Truth of Impermanence by the band Reds. And this was released October 24th on Council and Gene Scene Records. Reds are from New York, I believe New York City. And this is their second album, following their debut record, Is Means, from 2005. And this record was recorded by Steve Roche. And Reds were a post-hardcore, screamo, emo-core band from New York who put out one album 20 years ago, and then got back together to release an album that sounds like they have not missed the last 20 years. They picked up right where they left off. Returning to the band is vocalist Evan Kilgore and guitarist Dima Druchin. It's like a Dmitry is his first name and Russian last name. So they are the only returning Reds members. And they are joined by Colin Bartoldas, who was Dima's bandmate in The Fiction, which is how I discovered Reds. I was doing like a deep dive on the year 2005, and I found this band called The Fiction. Great screamo band. I was like super duper into it. I like went on Discogs, found a copy for $5 and ordered it. And loved it. I still have it on my shelf. It's a really great screamo record. And then like that same year, I found like this band too. Like just like, oh, this is also the members of Reds did this other thing. So I'm all into all of this stuff. Colin Bartoldas is also in Satia as well. And you have drummer Zach Resigiano. Apologies, Zach, I cannot pronounce your last name, but yeah, so this is a bunch of guys from the same scene 20 years ago deciding, let's get the band back together, let's do something, let's have some fun. And while they were recording this record, Billy Werner of Satia and Hot Cross was in the studio with them. And then Blake Midget of Page 99 was also there just hanging out. Blake is like one of the other vocalists in Page 99, that's not Chris Taylor. And Evan's like, you can't imagine how nervous I was to have these two phenomenal screamo vocalists in the studio while we're recording. Like, he's like, I felt a lot of pressure on that. I don't think he should, because he sounds fucking awesome on this record. You pointed this out to me, or you pointed it out on social media mainly, but I hadn't really quite made the connection right away. But he sounds a lot like Ian MacKaye in vocals.
He sounds so much like Ian. Yeah,
just like him.
I've never encountered anybody else who has that Ian MacKaye voice. Like, I really, this was on your list, and it was like, I've seen this name, and I know it's something that I should hear, and I finally got around to it late this year, and it is so good. It immediately jumped way up on my list. It's like, this is perfectly in line with my taste. Like this, it's that post-hardcore leaning kind of very Richmond scene kind of sounding post-hardcore screamo. A lot of similarities to like, especially their earlier stuff, I think has some similarities to like a Brainworms or Wow Owls and those kinds of bands.
Yeah.
Like there's just this kind of like rattly scrappiness. And I think this is like more beefed up than their earlier stuff and sounds a lot like Embrace. There's definitely a very big Embrace and Rites of Spring influence, and I think a Fugazi influence to a degree. And I think the dynamics and like song structure probably are more in line with like a Fugazi than an Embrace, but some of the guitar riffs and tones and like maybe leans more towards Embrace. But someone from Satia being in this band makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of riffs on here that sound like Hot Cross riffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same scene,
Yeah.
Hot Cross is active at the same time as Reds are, so it's like, yeah, you're right. I think of the Richmond sound more so when I hear this, but it's really the New York scene is really what's happening here.
But I had a lot of fun listening to this record. I
was super into it.
I guess this is 2 of 3 of Unexpected Comeback records.
Yeah, it's the year of the comeback.
On our
And it shatters our theory. I mean, I think our theory still holds because the amount of evidence that we have of reunion records not being as good as the original runs historically. But like this is a change in that trend. Like this record, it might be better than Is Means. I need to go back and re-listen to Is Means to see what I think of that one compared to this one now. But based on my memory, I think this one's actually better. So this is one of the rare occasions where they came back stronger than before. So yeah, it's very exciting to see this kind of thing happen. Because it's one of those reunions where you're just like, holy shit. It's just like, think of one of the most obscure bands you love. A band who did like one record and maybe a 7-inch. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're back. and you're like, what? Bands like yours don't come back. They're just gone when they're gone. They just get lost to the sands of time. But it is just like, we're back, and we're like probably more well recognized this time around than the first time around. Very cool. All right, so now we are entering the top 5, which is the most I don't know, hallowed ground.
Yeah.
I always feel like if you say something's in your top 5, that you're saying these are my favorites, period. Just this is stuff that you're probably gonna have the strongest feelings for. That being said, we did a collaborative ranking, so it's not necessarily the same, but I'm pretty sure most of this top 5 is in my top 5 personally. But number 5, Even the Wind Sounds Dead by Serrate. Released September 8th on Bitter Melody and Zagima Beach Records. Serrate from Asheville, North Carolina, and this album was recorded with Matt Michel. And this is their first full-length album and follows their debut demo/EP from 2023. So we've known Matt Evans for several years now. He is the guitarist of the band Serrate. He was also in the bands Just Die, Old Flings, several other bands too that he's been involved with over the years. Always playing guitar in those bands. He sang in Old Flings. And so I've fingers been on the pulse of what Matt Evans is playing. Usually everything he does, I try and see live at some point. I missed Megahertz. I never saw that band. I think I saw Empty Ritual though, but maybe not. I don't know. But so yeah, I hear that Matt is doing a screamo record that is very indebted to Majority Rule. And I was like, well, I want to hear that now. I want to hear it very badly right now. So they have been kind of like chipping away, the demo in 2023. So 2 years later, it's a pretty good little turnaround there. And yeah, this is their first studio album. And they recorded with Matt Michel of Majority Rule and No Man as well. That's his current band. And it sounds amazing. This band consists of Matt's Just Die bandmate David Reinhardt on drums. They have bassist Thomas Mims, and he was in he was in Weak Wrists, which was another Asheville screamo band. And then on vocals, we have Brandon Gaddis, who was the former lead singer of the band Asherah, who was a crust band in Asheville. That David also played in as well. So this band consists of a lot of guys in the Asheville scene who've known each other for a long time and have played together in various different bands over the years. So like-minded individuals all working together. And yeah, it's directly inspired by Majority Rule. You listen to this and you're like, oh yeah, I hear Majority Rule here. Lead singer Brandon Gaddis, he sounds very much like, I believe it's Matt was the singer in Majority Rule, but he also has a very Jacob Bannon quality to his vocals as well. And this is the best screamo record I've heard all year. I've really dipped out on a lot of screamo, but also a lot of screamo doesn't try and sound like Majority Rule, and that is probably one of my all-time favorite screamo bands. So anytime somebody's like, we were influenced by Majority Rule, I'm going to listen to it. So it's great. It is such a good record. I got to see them this year. They're really fun live. Brandon is a great frontman, very entertaining and engaging performer. He does a lot of banter between songs, including the comment that he said at the show of, you could just 3D print a gun now, right? And he just left it at that. Yeah, such a good band. And I'm so glad that this record came out. And it was a little bit of a journey to get there, but it's so good. I cannot believe how good this is. I know this is one that you had talked about, like, I need to listen to it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those really important records for me to hear, just because of who it is, obviously, and but I knew I would like it,
Right.
They didn't put it on Spotify. I did have to go to Bandcamp to listen to it. I am finding lots of stuff is not on Spotify. That Moving Targets record, all of the new Moving Targets records have been pulled from Spotify. I noticed that trying to re-listen to that for the show. I know we need to move on to a different app.
Yeah.
They all
I'm
just have
trying.
their issues.
I'm trying. I signed up for one. I'm trying it out to see how it works. I have a lot of problems with it. I didn't realize how good Spotify actually was about their UI. Like their interface was actually pretty good. So that's been the hard part, is trying to find a replacement.
Yeah. But I made a point of finally listening to this record, and I was just like, this is incredible. Like, this is exactly what I want from this kind of screamo. It's just this incredibly intense. Majority Rule is a great comparison. The vocal similarities to Jacob Bannon, especially like when you get into those really dissonant guitars, and just like how I think the drumming even there is a pretty good comparison to make to like a Jane Doe era Converge. This record's really cool. It's a very, very satisfying listen. Screamo, similar to you, like I have just drifted so far away from it. So much of it is just the same and uninteresting and uninspired, and this is none of that.
There's so much a lot of screamo now is like very like post rock, but also lots of black metal too influences. And that's been my problem with a lot of screamo. It's like the songs are too long and they go on just too many different parts, and like that's been my biggest issue with a lot of screamo. The screamo I do really enjoy the most is like the to the point, like the really like aggressive sounding screamo stuff. So yeah, this is that. I mean, also like it's not like a straight screamo record. There is some converge in their sound. I think Zayo has been cited as a reference for them as well too.
Yeah, I think his voice sounds especially like Dan's voice on the demo.
Oh yeah.
Prior to this, but yeah.
Yeah, they rip. It's just like a bunch of like veterans of the scene, and like some of the best musicians out of that scene, and like they're so good. They wrote such a great record, and I just cannot get over how good it is. It's brilliant. And they said recording with Matt Michel was really fun and really good. It sounds amazing. It sounds great, which I would expect, because all the No Man stuff has sounded really good too, and they may have recorded all the Majority Rule stuff back in the day too. But
if you look at the top screamo records on Rate Your Music right now, there's like 8 albums by a band called Life.
What?
They're all screamo, emo.
Are they like one person bands? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's one guy. Some guy in Mexico that's just making like...
won't stop making records. We didn't do like an overall look at 2025 or anything like that like we normally do. Maybe we'll do that on the next bonus audio, is just go back and do an old school chart dive just to see what else was going on. Because I would just like to want to know for myself. But
yeah, might be worth a look. I haven't really looked at the punk charts on Rate Your Music.
Right. And yeah, so it's
for this
like
year much. So
I everything that I was reading online from other people talking about lists this year, it was kind of like, this may be one of the least consensus-y years as far as like what everyone is talking about in recent memory. A lot of people are saying it's a bad year. I think it depends on what you're looking for, though. Because I think this is actually a pretty good year. Like, the volume wasn't as high. Like, the amount of records that I listened to wasn't as high as previous years. But the quality, I feel like, was higher for a lot of stuff I listened to this year. So, it's weird.
I listened to kind of a lot this year. I felt like I was paying more attention this year than in previous years. I feel like it was a pretty solid year.
Yeah. I think the areas where it's like not as strong of a year is probably more well-known stuff. I feel like pop and the bigger indie rock acts, it's not as been as strong a year. I don't just think there wasn't as much volume put out either. I shared this in our Discord, but there's a YouTuber named Todd in the Shadows. He does these pop song reviews. He's been doing them forever. And he does a list every year of the worst and best songs. And his worst of list that he was talking about is like, this year is just dead. It's like nothing came out this year. He said a lot of the top 10 this year was a lot of stuff from last year still. So I think pop was having a bad down year, but the stuff I like was having a pretty good up year. So I don't know. We live in different realities from each other, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody has had as well a regarded follow-up record in pop music to what was coming out last year.
Yeah.
I think this year was better than last year. I think last year was better than 2023. I would say the 2020s overall, though, have been pretty good.
Yeah.
for the kind of music I like.
But yeah, I mean, this Serrate record is phenomenal. They're good people too. I really like all of them, and good politics. They actually had their music on Spotify when it first came out, and they decided to pull it later, which is where I heard it when it first came out. Well, the first time I heard it was like in Grant's car, but Bitter Melody. But that was a few months before it actually came out, and it wasn't the final mix either. Yeah, we'll move on to number 4 then. So, number 4, it is Bible Songs 2 by the Austerity Program.
In 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, and this song starts with a setting sun falling down out of the westward sky. A pack of men come up from town. They're drunk and they're bleeding, and baby, they are ready to roll. She can finish her chores, take dinner with the man of the house, but on this night, she learns it doesn't matter at all. The day is receding, the hour is beating, the minutes are bleeding as they're ticking away.
Released May 1st on Controlled Burn. Austerity Program are from New York City, and this was a self-produced and recorded album. This is their 6th release following Bible Songs 1 from 2019. And the Austerity Program have been a duo since 1997. I did not know they went back that far, but they consist of Justin Foley on guitar and vocals, and Thad Calabrese on bass, and their drum machine. So they are from the Big Black School of Noise Rock, where they have 2 real members and a drum machine in there. And they are not the most prolific band to exist. It is quite normal for them to go forward 5 years between records. Bible Songs 1 came out in 2019, and they made a joke that it took them 11 years to release 12 songs. And
How many of those years are sitting there programming the drum machine?
yeah, right? Because it's like, it sounds really good.
To sit there and manually input every little open and closed hi-hat.
Yeah, so Bible Songs 1 was a concept record based on stories from the Bible, and so they were like, yeah, let's continue this thing. I mean, they named it Bible Songs 1 when they initially released it, so they already planned on doing more of these. So apparently every song in this record is based on a story from the Bible. Is it as obvious? Probably not when you're hearing them, but except for the song about Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat, that one's pretty obvious that that's what that song's about. But some people consider this an EP. If you look in certain places, it's called an EP. They never call it an EP. They call it a record. They only call it records. They never say, like, what's an album, what's an EP. It's 29 minutes long. It is also only, like, how many songs is it? Like 6 songs? It's not very many songs. Yeah, it's 6. But to me, that's enough. Like, 29 minutes, that's good. That's an LP. The fact that they don't call it an EP means that I'm going to call it an LP. But, because it was pressed on an LP. It's as long as a record. But, yeah. The songs on here, we have Leviticus. No, we don't. We have Lamentations chapter 4, verse 7 through 11. I guess I could read all of those verses and then, like, find out exactly, what story they are adapting. That could be kind of funny. But, this band, I have loved since the first time I heard them, which was their first LP, Black Madonna, 2007 is when that came out. I might have heard it in 2008. I think they used to be on Hydra Head when that was still a label, so that's probably how I came across them. Fell in love with that record, and just have followed them ever since. Like, everything they've done since then. Just one of my absolute favorite bands. I love their whole thing. They're one of the funniest bands out there, which is interesting. It's not really what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to find funny bands, but it just happen to be funny too. But, like, what is funny isn't even so much lyrics. Sometimes it's just what they did with the song. Like they do things in their songs that I'm just like, that is hilarious. Why did they think to do that? That is so funny to me. The Time to Let It Go part from one of their earlier records that's like the prime example of that.
Yeah, this record's so much fun. The riffs are so cool. His vocals are a lot of fun. I do think the lyrics are spectacular on this record, though. Like they're just.
You sent me one like screen grab. What did it say?
So good. It's Joshua. The one that you were saying is that's not Joseph. In the same coat. But he does go on about this coat. I don't know why he latches onto the coat in that story, because that's not a very prominent piece of the story of the sin of Achan. But I love that. Like, there's a little like bracket in between like the first verse or whatever, where he does this like. I think he just kind of like ad-libbed a line in the song, but it just says talks about the coat. And it's like I hit that point in the song, and like I went and looked up to go look up the lyrics, because I was just like, that's so funny. Like he just goes like, and I want to say one more thing about the coat. You put that thing on, and it's like money drips off of you. You just stand back and look at yourself, and you're like, ooh, hoo, hoo. It's incredible writing. I mean, and I was hooked on the first song, Lamentations.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a king's son, sweeter than pastry, moving like Travolta through a disco, whipping your curls. Hilarious interpretations of scripture.
Right. It is very funny. Like, and they're like short it's like always like 3 verses too, and a lot of it's like, man, you based a whole song off of like a paragraph. I mean, it's all you need for lyrics, I guess, for a song, but it is funny that they're like obscure stories from the Bible that they're quoting and referring to. Yeah, they do this. They play with loud quiet really well. Like, they are a very dynamic band. I just love the way they write these songs, because so many times it'll just be like, they'll do this thing where they'll have like this repeating like awful screeching riff. It's just like just a little thing, and they'll repeat it like several times in a row as just the only instrument. It's just the guitar, that kind of thing. Stop entirely, and then come in with this like wild drum fill intro, and then just like explode. And I love how they put these songs together. They're like, it's funny to think of them as like one of my all-time favorite bands, but they are. Like, I love this band's whole angle. Just 2 dudes in New York who are just like take forever to make records, but like,
and are doing the great thing. What's really unexpected is that they're doing full-on Big Black worship.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of Big Black.
No, not really, no. I'm not even a fan of shellac even that much. It's just like, they take that sound and they make it something that I want to hear. And you hear it, and there's no mistaking that that's what it is. They're doing the Big Black thing. Like, but for some reason, just the minds that it took to put these songs together, I just cannot get enough of it. All right, let's move on to number 3, and that is Time to Let You Down by Swami John Reis. Released March 21st on Swami Records. Swami John Reis is from San Diego, California. And this is produced by John as well as recorded by Ben Moore, who did the Plosivs record. And this is the third solo record by John Reis, and it follows All of This Awaits You in 2024. And in fact, this record was released 8 months after the last record. So the prolific nature of John Reis continues. We mentioned him a few times now. Rocket from the Crypt, Hot Snakes, Drive Like Jehu, Plosivs. He's had several different bands over the years, and in 2022, he began releasing a series of solo records. And he did that one record. It's like an instrumental record where it's like surf music. It's just like an instrumental surf record that he did with a band. I'm not really counting that one because, like, I don't know. It's not the same thing. That was clearly a one-off little project. But that was 2015. And so he doesn't follow that up until 2022 with Ride the Wild Night, which was then turned around in 2024 with All This Awaits You and then Time to Let You Down. So my suspicion is, in the past, he would have just started a new band for every record, but now he's just like, I just call them all me. And I think people will listen.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people come and go, different people on the records, but it's all fundamentally his bands. Like, there really isn't a need to call it a new band.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing anything drastically different with any of them.
Right,
But
and
Plosivs makes sense to be a separate band because that is like somebody else's writing with him.
yeah, because I feel like, I don't know if these solo records is just like mainly all written by him, but there are people on them that you will find familiar. This record includes Jason Korkunis of Hot Snakes. He was also in the Night Marchers. We have Joe Guevara of Jejune in here. That's a different kind of person to work with. And we have Glenn Galloway of Truman's Water, and also the band Soul Junk. I would have never expected a member of the band Soul Junk to wind up on a John Reis record, but I guess Soul Junk were from San Diego. So Christian, what do you call Soul Junk? Trip hop? Not even that.
There's
feels like
a lot of like abstract hip hop influence, like, but they also are just kind of like noisy,
silly,
alternative,
very Beck.
Yeah.
When Beck raps, you get a little bit of that in there too. Yeah, weird connection to have. He's not on a lot of Soul Junk. He's on like 2 things, but because I think that group was like mainly one guy's idea, but they had a lot of records too. But yeah, interesting. Because each of these solo records does have different people on it. So yeah, I do think historically he would have just had all 3 of these would have had different band names. Probably. But this record is credited with John celebrating 55 years in the music industry. What does he mean by that? Like, what year would that be?
How old is he?
1970. Was John... See, if you told me John Reis is 55, I'd probably believe you.
Yeah, he's just 55. He's just...
Is that it?
Yeah,
it's just his
he's
birthday?
He's 55.
No, he's 56. He was born in April. So he's implying that I had a song and... Wait, when's his birthday? That might be April. So this record came out before his birthday, right? What did I say?
Yeah.
March? Okay. So it's... Okay. It's just saying he was 55, so he's celebrating 55 years in the music industry. It's like, I don't think you were in the music industry until the 80s at least, but that is very funny. I think this is the best solo Swami record that he's done out of the 3 that he's done recently, especially, actually, if you count the other one, the best out of the 4.
I loved Ride the Wild Night.
Yeah.
I would definitely say this is better than the last Swami record.
You mean the hot dog order record and the these tools from Harbor Freight suck?
I liked those songs.
I mean, they're funny, but I don't know. I mean, this one's got the Kamen Rider theme on it though, so that's funny to me too. He's still funny.
Which I kind of wish he'd just done the Kamen Rider theme as just like a one-off single instead of putting it on the record. Not because I don't enjoy it or think that it doesn't fit on the record. I do think it fits on the record, but I think so many people made a big deal out of the Kamen Rider song being on here. Like when this record came out, everybody was like, he does the Kamen Rider theme. And I'm like, he also does Boomerang and Fed to the Dogs and Cold Feet and Heartbeats. And like, these are all incredible songs. Like, it's a great record beyond the Kamen Rider theme being on here. Like,
that'd be like if you were like the Jam did the Batman theme on their first record, and it's like, they did the Batman theme. It's like, yeah, and the rest of the record's better. I love this album. It feels a little more, weirdly, like he put out that Fed to the Dog song first, and I was like, okay, he's doing something different, because that song was a little slower. It's like kind of doing a Priest thing, like a Judas Priest thing. I was like, that's interesting. He's going for a different thing on the record. No, he's not. He's doing his normal John Reis thing on the record. It's just, that was the slow song. He did that thing where like
you chugging slow song for the
you pick the different song off your record to be your lead single to catch people who aren't already listeners, because otherwise the rest of this record is just driving. It drives really, really hard. Like I think that's why I like this one most. The energy is like kind of nonstop on this one, with the exception of Fed to the Dogs. And even then, that's a fun song in the context of the record. I didn't like it as a standalone single. It definitely worked better, being surrounded by the other songs. But yeah, I just had a lot more fun with it. It seems like it has a little more edge than the last two records did. Yeah, I don't know exactly what like thought process goes behind these albums. I feel like he doesn't talk about them a lot. He doesn't do a ton of press, right?
No, I don't think he really does. I don't know if people just don't ask him to do interviews or if he just doesn't do interviews.
Yeah. He doesn't strike me as a super talkative guy, though, either. I don't know. I could be wrong with that, but he does strike me as a goofball, though. Like, we saw Night Marchers at Fest, and he was just like, kept making jokes about the band names of everybody who was playing that show. I thought that was pretty funny, but I don't know. I mean, okay, so John Reis released a record in 2025. You knew it was going to appear on our list. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's our predictability. We talk about John Reis bands too much. We do.
Well, if he would do something bad, he wouldn't make the list.
It's funny. I saw a few times people say that, like, I didn't include anything on my best of list from people that I was friendly with because I didn't want to have this like layer of, like I was favoritism or something. And then meanwhile, our list consists of like half people who've been on our show. And I'm like, well, I was a fan of the band before I met them.
Yeah.
That's why I invite them on the show, is because I like what their music is. So I don't know. I think we're pretty fair. I don't think we're too like, this Serrate record's on our list this high because we're just friends with them. It's like, no, it's this high because it fucking rocks. Yeah. It would be this high even if I didn't know them,
I don't know how much. It's not like we're gonna, us talking about that Serrate record. Maybe somebody will go buy it. I think you should. I think if you like any of these records, like, or if this is your first time hearing about any of these bands, and you go check them out and you really like them, buy something from them. That's cool. I hope that happens. But like, it's not like we're gonna move a bunch of units or something, like, because we name dropped our friend's band on our best of list, buried in the back quarter of the episode.
I do claim responsibility of moving at least 3 physical units of, maybe even 4 of Buckeye's Pleasure Vision. So, because you and I both got one. I think I sent you one. I got one. And then Billy Power just saw me share it, and then he bought one. And then I think somebody else saw it too. So we gave this band tens of dollars, Yeah. I don't know that people are coming to us and be like, oh, their journalistic integrity is pretty suspect, considering that they talk about their friends a lot.
I'm something of a industry gatekeeper.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I have no problem with it. I think I can be objective, but
I'm not getting paid to talk about these records.
No, but if someone would like to pay us to talk about some records, I would gladly.
Yeah.
Besides, you lovely patrons, but
yeah, we do those Patreon sponsored episodes. We're up front that people are paying us to talk about those records.
I'm not against taking money to talk about records. It just depends on who the money comes from. That's where I care.
We also have been paid by people to talk about a record on our show that we then said nothing nice about.
Yeah. I mean,
so we give our honest opinions.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our honest opinions. Number 2, Hope Against Hope by Catharsis. Released August 1st on Crime Think. Catharsis are from, I don't know if they still are, but they were from Greensboro, North Carolina. This was mostly recorded by the band and then reamped and mixed by Kurt Ballou of Converge. And this is the third full-length album from Catharsis and the follow-up to their 2001 split with the band Newborn. So Catharsis, from North Carolina, legendary metalcore band from, specifically in this area, legendary band, I think pretty well regarded critically in their heyday. They were part of the Integrity Holy Terror bands, the bands who kind of ascribed to the, I don't know what Holy Terror actually was. Gehenna, it was like the other big band. Is it Satan? Is that all it is? It's just...
It's pointedly anti-Christian hardcore.
Yeah.
I think would be how you would describe it.
Yeah. Catharsis also...
Esoteric in a non-racist way, I should say.
Yeah. But also Catharsis are also extremely anarchistic. Like, they are super in tune with, anarchism and its philosophies and resistance techniques. And, it's not just the Holy Terror thing. They're also an anarchist band. And yeah, they would release a couple records that were beloved. They did 2 LPs in the 90s, Passion and Samsara. Amazing records. And their legacy kind of never really faded. I think they were always just well regarded, and those albums were always well regarded. And so a couple years ago, they wound up doing some reunion shows. They did a series of shows in Europe, and then of course they're from North Carolina, so they did their warm-up shows here. I got to go to one of those shows in Chapel Hill, which was like in 2013, and then they would play kind of sporadically over the years. And then following the John Rivera Memorial Show, where Catharsis was the headliner, they decided to start working on new material. I think, as far as I can tell, playing that memorial show directly led to them deciding to write a new record. That memorial show resulted in the reunion of Prayer for Cleansing and Undying, who are both still bands now. And like Code 7 got back together, did a new record too. It's like John Rivera was a beloved figure in North Carolina hardcore, and it's incredible. Like, I don't know that he would believe what came out of that. And it's the fact that we got a new Catharsis record. Incredible. I got a text earlier this year from a friend who was just like, Catharsis has an entire album finished. It will be coming out in August this year. And then the band turned around and surprise dropped it on everyone. They didn't announce it. There was no press leading up to it. They just put it out August 1st. And then everybody was like, what the fuck? Catharsis is back? They have a new record? And yeah, it's been 26 years since they released Passion. Funnily enough, this is also the first time that both Jimmy Chang and Matt Miller have played guitar on a Catharsis album. Jimmy Chang played guitar like early in Catharsis, and he wound up leaving, I think, to go play in Undying. And so like Jimmy's not on any LPs, I don't think. And when Jimmy was in Catharsis with Matt played bass in the band. And then eventually Matt winds up taking over guitar later. So even though they've reunited and Matt and Jimmy have been in the band since they reunited, it's kind of wild that they never recorded on a record together. So it's really cool to have them both on this record. Jimmy Chang also plays in Earth Crisis. He's their like live guitarist. He's not on any of their records, but he does their touring for them. But I mean, we had warning that it was coming. Like, we knew like it's coming out this week. Be ready. It was basically the note that we got. And I woke up that day just ready to hear it because I knew it was coming. And I was just like so pumped to finally get to listen to it. And I listened to it and I was not disappointed. I'd seen Catharsis in the last 10 years twice. So like I knew they could still do it. They still had it. I guess the question becomes like, how's the writing going to be for the record? And the answer is fucking incredible. Like, I don't know. You weigh in on this one because this is the third of our 20-year reunion bands.
Yeah. 26 years? To come back with a record this good, it's incredible. And we've had so many this year. It's wild that we've had such long spans between records by bands, and they come back and they pick up where they left off, and they are just as vital. Like, I sent this record to multiple people. Like, I listened to it. I was like, this is incredible. This is an amazing reunion. And like, not only is this like of interest to me as someone who's like already been a fan of Catharsis, like this isn't just an insular thing. Like, I think you know, like when I listened to this record, I was like, other people need to hear this. People who might not necessarily listen to Catharsis or have been fans. And like, I sent it to our cousin, and he was like, he texted me like, he was like, he checked it out and really liked it. And then like he texted me later and was like, I can't stop listening to Catharsis. I was like, I've listened to like their whole discography. Like, they're incredible. And like, I sent it to our old guitarist of our old hardcore band, and he was like, this is the album of the year. Like, this is the best thing I've heard in forever. I posted about it on like Blue Sky, and I think I was the one to tip off Andy Sell that there was a new Catharsis record.
Yeah.
So I deserve a cut of the sales of this record. No, but truly, like, I listened to this record and I was like, this is what hardcore should be.
Yeah.
Like, it is intense. It is saying something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's not just dog barks to sell Taco Bell.
Gorilla grunts. No, this is... So I got to see them this year. They played in Asheville, and I got to see them. And between songs, they're still as on fire as they were the first time around. You know, they're talking about, like, get together with your like-minded friends, exchange the ideas, because then those friends will go on to have their group of people that they go talk to. Like, it's just like this web of people that we have to support each other during this time, because we're living in a fascist environment right now. It is a very horrible time for this country. This has always been a fascist country. It was founded on it, but it's at its worst that it's been in a very long time. And just like having community and supporting each other is the only way we're going to get through this and actually come out on the other side. And it was just this like unifying message that they put out there. And then they turn around and destroy the place sonically. It's just this huge, massive sound. And it's just like, it doesn't just sound cool. Like, there's a true message behind all this stuff, and there's thought behind everything they do and every action that they choose to take. Yeah, we need this instead of, you know, the family pack at Taco Bell, you know. Like, it's phenomenal. It's
yeah. We don't need LA graphic designer hardcore.
Chicago chefs now have hardcore bands. Yeah, I mean, I make fun of some of that stuff. I do like some of that, the kind of stuff that I'm referring to, but just, it's different when there is like a message behind it, you know? I'm sure a lot of those band members have very fine politics that, you know, I would not object to, but it is just kind of, it's like, but it's nothing compared to something like this. Like, the ideals are here. They live by this shit, which is incredible. Crime Think is still a thing, still putting out anarchist literature. If you go to a Catharsis show, there's an entire table full of literature teaching you how to like resist arrest and like what to do when you see ICE harassing people in your neighborhood. It's just like, it's real shit. And it's incredible. I'm so glad this band not only decided to come back and play shows, but like put out a new record. You know, like, this record was very much written in support of Palestine. Like, that was a big piece of the description of this record. The drummer, of course, he got in some trouble. He got arrested for some of his he's definitely a pro-Palestine guy, but he definitely did some actions that were a little bit more extreme than you tend to expect surrounding like a Jewish school up in where he was living up in the Northeast. He got arrested for it, you know, and he has to wear a ankle monitor, which he played in. He played wearing his ankle monitor on the record. And I saw them at when I saw them live, I think he was still wearing it too, which also, like, smoking a shit ton of weed. It was just very funny. I was just like, the anarchist band has a police monitor ankle on one of their band members, and they just did not change anything about them. They're just like, yeah, we're still going to Europe, which I think he made it too. So that's, I guess if you get it approved, but wild, just incredible band. I'm so glad they put this out. I have no hopes in more Catharsis. I don't expect more Catharsis records or anything along those lines. I would welcome them and, you know, I would appreciate them, but at the same time, like, this feels like this was something special. Like, it was only going to happen now, and I don't know if we'll get more, but, and so I tried to treat it that way, as this, like, this is special that this is out. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah. All right. Number 1, we are here, and you knew it was coming. Songs in the Key of Yikes by Superchunk. Released August 22nd on Merge Records, Superchunk from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and this was recorded by Paul Vaughan and Eli Webb. This is their 13th studio album and follows Wild Loneliness, which was released in 2022. And yeah, Superchunk have gone through several changes since returning back in 2010. You know, they took a 9-year hiatus on releasing new music. They played shows sporadically during that time period, but they focused on other things, probably raising families, if we'll be honest. If you look at the ages of their children now, and you're like, man, that was probably when they were all babies, so that's why they took 9 years off. But the first, in 2013, bassist Laura Balance decides, I've got to retire from playing live. My hearing damage is too painful for me to continue. So Laura winds up stepping back from live duties, but she is still on the records. She does record on all the records. So she is replaced by Jason Narducci on bass for their live shows. He had been playing with Bob Mould during this time, so I think that's how they made that connection there. He would have been playing with John Worster as well in that band, so my guess is John just kind of vouched for him. So they do several years, they release several records, and then it was announced in 2023 that John Worster will be leaving Superchunk. He cited that, you know, his heart just wasn't into it anymore. I think it was a surprise to kind of everyone, like fans of the band. I think even the band kind of expressed some like surprise by it. They were like, oh, that's surprising to learn. But he wound up exiting the band, and he would be replaced by drummer Laura King of the bands Bat Fangs, Speedstick, and several more. Which I learned this year. This is not the first time that Laura King has replaced John Worster on drums in a band, because he was in a band called Grand National, which was a Chapel Hill, I think, or Chapel Hill or Durham band, and Worster played drums in that band, quit the band, Laura King was his replacement in that band. Very funny. So after Laura King joins the band, Jason Narducci gets really busy. He is balancing his time between Bob Mould, he is in the Mountain Goats with John Worster. He had his own childhood band called Verboten, which apparently there's like a play about them or a musical or something about them. They wrote and recorded a record, and he has his other one, Split Single, I think it's the name of his other side project that he has. And lately, he has been touring with actor Michael Shannon doing covers of REM songs. So they're going to embark on their third tour next year. So Jason got really busy with touring, and so he can't do every date for Superchunk. So Laura King brought in her Bat Fangs bandmate, Betsy Wright, to join the band. And she is now the touring bassist for when Jason cannot play. So, depends on schedules and all that. But so then, finally, in 2025, it was announced that Laura Balance will be stepping down from Merge Records, the label that she started with Mac McCon, and that the label is going to be merging, pun intended, with Secretly Group, which was the collection of labels Secretly Canadian, Jaguar, Numero Group, and Dead Oceans, with Mac still maintaining like 50% ownership of the of Merge. So with all of that being said, they released Songs in the Key of Yikes this year as a sort of back to basics kind of approach for Superchunk, and sonically fits in much more in line with Majesty Shredding, Here's Where the Strings Come In, like that version of Superchunk, the like poppy but high energy version of the band. because since Majesty Shredding, they've tried different things. You know, they did the I Hate Music was kind of a hodgepodge of different things, but then What a Time to Be Alive was like their hardcore protest record, while Loneliness was their like very acoustic record. That was their COVID record at home record. I think that's all of them. But yeah, so this one was a little bit more of a throwback to Majesty Shredding and the thing that kind of got them there, you know, the noisy kind of stuff. So they released Bruised Lung early in the year, one of the songs of this record, but it wasn't really talked about as like, there's an album coming yet. That would be a few more months later, where they did like this PBS, North Carolina PBS show special of where they performed live on it. And they did like an interview, and in it they were like, yeah, we're working on the next record, or it was worded in a funny way that they're working on it. And then I was like, maybe we'll get one this year. And we did. You know, it was announced that this record was coming out. Bruised Lung was one of the songs that was going to be on it. And it's, I was hyped. I was, you know, they're my favorite band. Like, they're absolutely my favorite band. So I was very much looking forward to it and was not disappointed. I was very happy to hear the return to form that they went with this record. You know, a lot of bands say that. You know, like almost every band is like, who has like a lengthy discography will always be like, yeah, I think this new record is it's kind of gonna, you know, go back to our earlier sound. And they're always full of shit when they say that. It's never true. I don't know what I don't know if that's just a thing that I don't know. They think that they're actually doing it, but they're not really doing it, or if it's just a thing to try and get the fans to pay attention to what's coming out. Not entirely sure. They didn't say that with this one. They just did it. It wasn't one of those ones where they were like, yeah, we really wanted a back to basics approach. They didn't say any of that kind of stuff. They were just like, here's the record. And it just so happened to sound like that. So I was very excited for it. You know, you never know what you're going to get with one of their records. And I loved it. I mean, this is the record I've listened to the most this year. I play it all the time. When I can't think of something to play from this year, that's the one I put on. I don't know. It's a phenomenal record. So, what are your thoughts on the new Superchunk?
It's just a proper Superchunk record. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is. Like you said, it is. They just did it. They just did a return to form. They just did what they have done. And I think Superchunk just kind of like, they try different stuff time to time, and other times they're just like, yeah, here's the songs, and it's kind of just what you expect. There's nothing really flashy about this record. It's just consistently good, and I think is a record that will be really easy to come back to in the future. Like, I thought Wild Loneliness was great.
I love that record.
But I haven't really come back to it. You know, like, it is such a different version of the band that it's like, well, is that what I want to reach for? Not always.
Like, how often were you reaching for, here's just shutting up, you know?
Yeah. It's a different take on the band, and it's cool to listen to, but I also want, you know, classic Superchunk. I want Majesty Shredding. I want something that just scratches the itch for Superchunk from time to time. The songwriting's still good. The guitar playing is still great. Jim Wilbur is still coming up with cool stuff on the guitar to do. You know, I think that people had an unusually high expectation for this record, because when it came out, it seemed like there was this air of disappointment that a lot of people had, and I didn't understand why. Like, I listened to it that day it came out, and I was like, yep, that's it. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, I am not sure what people wanted from this record, because the last record wasn't what people wanted either. You know, like, and I personally didn't want what they did on What a Time to Be Alive. Like, that just, I don't know. It was a good record, but like, that's probably my least favorite of their reunion records. Or not reunion, but, you know, comeback records. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is what I want for Superchunk, is what they delivered. So I don't know what these people want. I also saw a lot of people who were like, I haven't listened to anything they've done since Majesty Shredding. I was like, well, then what? Why are you getting disappointed then? You ignored the last three. So, like, what are you talking about? But I saw several people say that. It's like, you know, when that Alkaline Trio record came out and that Hot Water Music record came out, and everybody online was like, oh, they're back. They're cooking. They're just... And it's like, what? This is bad. It's actually worse than what they were doing before this. Like, huh? What are you talking about? I don't know. People are weird and selective when it comes to records.
Yeah. A lot of people also, I saw a lot of people making fun of the name of the album.
Yeah, whatever.
It's fine.
I don't care. I'm not bothered by it.
It's a,
This is a band with here's two names on their record, or here's to the strings. Here's just shutting up. Here's where the strings come in.
It's a reference to the Stevie Wonder album Songs in the Key of Life.
Right. I think people were laughing at the yikes because it was like, oh, that's old internet meme. Yikes. It's like, yeah, but Mac's old. I mean, not yeah, I'm sure a guy in his late 50s might think that's funny still. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. He put bananas on his last album cover. They put a goat on the last Superchunk album cover for no reason. Just a photo of a goat in a place set. Like, whatever. The names of records don't matter that much with Superchunk, Nobody knows what the lyrics are about anyway. Half of them are so abstract. He even said, a lot of my lyrics come from my dreams. I was like, oh, okay. That's why they don't make sense. All right.
Macmahon Dream Journal.
Yeah, I had a funny thought in a dream and I wrote it down. This record, though, does actually have like a lyrical kind of theme. It's everything is fucked. That is the theme of this record. That's kind of been their theme for the last two records, to be honest. Wild Loneliness was the environment is fucked. And What a Time to Be Alive is politics are fucked. This is just a continuation. Like this record, it has songs. There's song Careless. That's one of the best songs on the record. And that is a song about literally trying to care less about the world and what's happening to it. He's like, I'm just trying to care less because I can't handle it anymore. The bruised lung is a very like down feeling with a lot of the lyrics in here. No hope. No hope is literally about having no hope. And bruised lung is really bruised lung, no hope, careless. They're all tapped into that same kind of like energy of just like, oh God, that we're all kind of going through. Everybody dies. Stuck in a dream about actually being in a dream. Train on Fire is actually one of my favorite songs on the record. Like I just love this whole record. But yeah, there is actually like a theme kind of running throughout it. I mean, obviously this was my number one album of the year. It was always going to be a high chance it was going to be my number one. Your favorite band putting out a record. There's a good chance you're going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, this was my number 5.
Yeah.
And like when I went through kind of my ranking and just comparing every record to each other and thinking about like, how did I feel when listening to the record? Like, if you asked me how I felt about this record on its own, I might say like, yeah, it's good. And like, I might not have a whole lot to say about it necessarily, but then comparing it to everything else, I'm like, how did I actually feel listening to this record? How much did I feel inclined to come back to this record? Do I want to continue coming back to this record? And like, I know looking at this and looking at everything else that came out this year, this is a record I'm gonna hear again in the future. There's plenty of stuff I rated pretty highly from this year that I might not ever come back to. I mean, that's the thing about doing these lists all the time. It's like how your mood changes, and like there's been plenty of times where we're like, oh, I love this is incredible, top 5 album of the year, and then you never listen to it again
ever again. Yeah.
We've gone back and looked at our old lists that we've published, and like even doing on this show, like there's stuff that I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I'd put that on there. I don't know that actually did stand the test of time. But, like, I know this. Like, I know Superchunk. I know what I want them to do. This is it. This is something I'm going to come back to. And as bummer as the lyrics are, it's a lot of fun to listen to. More so than anything else they've done since Majesty Shredding.
Yeah. I do think it's their best record since Majesty Shredding. I think it's the most fun record they've done since then. And it's a comfort record for me. Like, when I couldn't think of what to listen to from this year, I would put this on. I know this record front and back really well now. And some of those darker themes really were helpful this year. Like, I think of the lines in No Hope and Careless a lot. Like, the lyrics in those songs, like, I relate to them. I actually probably relate to the lyrics in this song more than some of the records that they're classic records, because I don't know what most of those songs are actually about. I know Foolish is about a breakup, but even then he's been like, these aren't all about her. So I really identified with these lyrics, and really, careless is like, that's a big one. That one really kept just singing out to me this year. I was just like, because every time I would open my phone or look at anything, there would always be something new. And we would finish a recording and then they'd be like, oh, here's a new horrible thing that happened while we were, in our silo for 2 or 3 hours. And it's saying you want to care less is not, it's self-preservation.
It's not even necessarily saying that I don't, I want to be closed off and callous.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I want to be bothered less.
Right. I mean, there have been times where I was just like, man, I wish I wasn't aware of a lot of things. Like, I know several people. I've worked with several people over the years who are just like not in tune with anything politically, culturally. They just like, their things they like are the things that they pay attention to, and they pay attention to nothing else. And there have been times where you're just like, man, I wish I didn't care about what was happening right now. Just maybe for like a couple days. Just give me a week of like not caring. Like that would be nice. But
I mean, I think even beyond like the global issues, or like even down to my own personal life, I thought that multiple times this year I would see other people just like at work in particular just doing their work. And I'm like, I wish I could just do that. I wish I could just not think and do only my job. Just like turn it off. I want to be severanced. Not really, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just like, how do you just be unbothered?
I mean, I don't know about you, but this has been the worst year of my life. As far as I know, maybe there was another year that might have been. I don't think so, though. The amount of things that have happened to me this year, it's just like, this has been horrible. And I know several other people who it's like, this has been a horrible year. It's just been a horrible year. And personally, it's not even being political minded, not even being socially conscious minded. Literally just the things that have happened in your life.
Yeah.
It's been a bad year. And I'm assuming that's probably more in-stage capitalism at play with a lot of things that are happening. But there's other things that's just like, oh, my cat died. Like that is like the one. I had several cats die this year. It was a horrible year. I had so many car problems this year. Like none of this stuff is political. None of this stuff is like, damn you, Biden. None of that is that. It's just, I don't even like evoking his name. God,
Biden.
No, the other guy who I am more mad at on a daily basis. But thanks Obama is really what's. But it's just like. It's horrible. It's been a bad year. It's been a really, really bad year. Personal stuff and like our family stuff too, and like awful. So it's just like,
yeah.
I don't really know where I'm going with any of this. I guess that's what I'm saying is like careless would be nice, just for like even just a couple months to just be like I'm unbothered by something, Yeah, brutal year, brutal year. Music was like one of the good things this year. It's tough. You get used to like all these bad things happening and you just fixate on them. But then it's like, it's kind of hard to remember the good things that happened. And I don't have a huge list of good things that happened. Music is one of them though. So this is important for me. I need to do this show because it's like one of the bright spots of my week. It's sometimes the logistics get a little annoying, or sometimes it's like, it's tough just finding the time to, especially with the solo stuff, like stuff I really want to devote more time to, but it just can't. Because you're just limited. And so I need this show. I need this show to continue. If you told me today, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I would then immediately find a new co-host to start something else because I need this outlet. I need this like positive thing, and I think you get something out of it too. But yeah, I'm never one to be like
one of the most consistently easy places to go this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could just check out for a couple hours and talk about music.
Yeah, because it's what we want to do most of the time anyway. Just talk about music. Listening to, writing about, and talking about music. Making lists of music. Yeah. So that, I guess, is all I have to say is we appreciate all of you for listening. If you listen regularly, if you are just someone who dips in time to time, or if this is the first time you've heard it, I appreciate all of you. The show has had growth year over year, every single year since we started it. But I think even if we didn't, we might still do it. I guess it would depend on some factors, but the show's never stopped growing. So that's been a positive. And And we've said several times throughout the years, making the connections with all of you, that we've talked to directly and either on the show, through text, messaging, DMs, anything like that. The best part of my year is everything around this. So we'll keep doing it. So I'm kind of excited. We're recording this on New Year's Eve, and I'm kind of ready to start that new fresh document tomorrow. I don't know. There might be something that comes out on the 1st. There's always somebody with that gimmicky idea of putting something out on the 1st, but first Friday of 2026, I'll have something, I'm sure. So looking forward to that, starting on next year's list. And we appreciate you all so much. And we'll wrap it up here. I think definitely close to 4 hours of recording on this. So did not think it would get that long, but it'll trim down, of course. That'll do it. So thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. And you can follow us on all forms of social media. We're at PunkLottoPod. Where are we following you, Dylan?
You can follow me on whatever. Husker Dylan or Major Awards Band. Yeah, I don't know. Be on the lookout. Big things coming. I don't know.
Uh-oh, don't say that.
I am ending the year with a little bit more of a zen mindset about music than I expected, given the members who have departed the band this year. And I'm actually really looking forward to what we're going to do. And I'm really looking forward to figuring out what the process looks like. If there's new people involved, if there's not, if it's just me, whatever. I think we're going to have a lot of fun next year, one way or another.
All right. So that'll do it. And we'll be back next week back at it, back at our old format, normal show. So thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
To order Punk, call the number on your screen. Rush delivery is available. Remember, this special offer is not sold in stores.